So hey guys, how are you all? Welcome to. So we are back with a brand new movie on what if Naruto became lazy with DxD female harem movie, but before we start, be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video. Now let's begin the story. A forsaken legend lost within the sands of time and known only to a select few spoke of a creature. A creature of unimaginable horror and power. The mere mentioning of the creature would send those who knew of its existence into a fit of insanity and terror. One day the creature appeared seemingly out of nowhere in the nothingness of the dimensional gap in an explosion. Its spontaneous arrival had not gone unnoticed by the only two denizens of the dimensional gap, Great Red, the true dragon, and Ophis, the infinity dragon, who were once again fighting over prime ownership of the empty two dragons shortly arrived at the scene finding a giant lotus flower. This phenomena perplexed the two. Neither sensed inimical intentions from the strange flower, so neither had probability to expunge the untimely intruder. Then without warning the flower wilted and died, right before their eyes, in a resilient display of color. Warily Great Red and Ophis resumed their rivalry in a fierce bout of magical power. But by then it was too late, the seeds had been sown. The flower was merely a ruse meant to distract the two. Its true intention lay in the pollen sent adrift by the flower's death and now latched onto the bodies of Great Red and Ophis. The pollen contained a seed which burrowed into the body of its host and began its malicious usurpation of magical power. The parasite ingeniously adapted itself to the host's body system and tricked the antibodies into believing it was one of their own kin. Then slowly and meticulously it gorged on the vast reserves of host. Once it had eaten its fill, it burrowed its way out, but not before leaving before another infantile copy of itself to begin the process anew. The seeds were nanoscopic and its energy synced with Great Red and Ophis hiding its existence. Surreptitiously the seeds began filling up the void. They began gathering at a location deep within the dimension's vastness away from the two. The seeds coagulated into a round green sphere. And to mention it was huge. It easily overshadowed Great Red and the future dragon, Midgardsormr. The green sphere was actually a lotus flower. The green and outer layer peeled away and opened up a subdermal pink layer. The subsequent pink layer opened to reveal a yellow bulb. The bulb had inside an undeveloped fetus shaped like a dragon. The bulb radiated a brilliant glow stretching across the void. The glow alerted Great Red and Ophis. From the bulb they felt their power and were enraged at the thievery. So with extreme prejudice they simultaneously launched orbs consisting of destructive magical power to erase the nuisance. A resounding explosion rang out and a bright light blotted out vision temporarily. But without having to confirm it visually, Ophis and Great Red were shocked to find that the intruder had survived. Not only that, but without a single scratch. And furthermore it absorbed it to fuel its growth. Then the bulb pulsated once, twice, thrice before a split appeared vertically through the center. It pulsed again, the more cracks. The dimensional gap becoming shaking violently as the tempo of the pulsations sped up. With one final pulse the bulb exploded, releasing a torrent of energy that overshadowed Great Red's and Ophis combined. A sonorous roar shook the dimension in one final tremor. There before Great Red and Ophis in all its glory was a tower, lumbering black dragon. The dragon's scales were primarily black but had golden highlights. Two sharply curved horns jutted out from its head. It had 10 eyes. 5 on each side split down symmetrically and mirrored. Its wingspan was 5 times the length of Great Red's body. Merely its head in comparison took over 3/4 of Red's body. The dragon was terror incarnate. It stretched its mighty wings out and gave a test flap. The gust produced blew away Ophis and Red. So far the great beast hadn't noticed and recognized either dragon's existence. That changed when Ophis shot a condensed sphere of magic right at one of its lower eyes. It tickled the creature but had the desired effect of announcing Ophis and Red's presence. The creature opened its enormous maw, forming a magic circle in the front. Tremendous magic was felt being built up then in an ostentatious display of might it roared, blowing Ophis and Red right out of the dimensional gap and leaving a gaping hole. In the underworld, earth and heaven, every single being felt its power. How could they not? The creature's power blanketed and smothered everything with its oppressive aura. Red's body rumbled and rolled through heaven, the biblical god's domain, crushing buildings with his weight. On the other hand, Ophis was shot through a multitude of structures before ultimately momentum slowed down and she, in female form, crashed, forming a crater upon impact. Before the angels knew it, a large shadow overtook the sun and a giant shadow covered heaven. Looking up, the angels' eyes widened in terror before the creature's stature. They lost their calm and began panicking. "Look!" someone shouted. And they did. The creature's maw opened once again, was mid-process of annihilating heaven, because in the middle of its maw was a translucent purple orb which was steadily growing larger and larger by the seconds. When it had grown to a sufficient size, The creature reared its head back and shot the cannon in a whipping motion. And heaven ceased existing, or would have if God had not acted in the last minute, creating a barrier dispelling the blast. Although the effort was taxing and God was already heavily panting. Gathering his breath, God shouted, "Rally behind me, my children, and we shall expel this intruder from our sanctimonious holy land." With their leader, the angels let loose a loud war cry, but died down when they saw Red and Ophis teleport in front of them. They thought the three dragons were cohorts scheming the demise of heaven, until Great Red spewed a blazing inferno at the creature and Ophis boosted it with their magic. Their morale was bolstered even further upon learning that they shared a common enemy. Their mood dropped once more, seeing a frenzy of magic circles appear belonging to their mortal enemies, the devils. Even with Great Red and Ophis help, their chances looked bleak if the devils sided with the apocalyptic dragon. Mao, supreme ruler of the devils, appeared in front of God. "Mao, Tame, what are you doing here?" God asked in genuine surprise. "Is that any way to act when my forces and I are here to save your scrawny asses?" At that moment, magic circles spanned heaven's ground as warriors from different mythos joined their forces to combat the apocalypse. Demigods, yokai, Valkyries, angels and devils for the first time united. Whereas back with Mao and God, other deities joined them. Zeus, ruler of Olympus and the Greek pantheon. Odin, the Allfather, with the Norse pantheon. Para-Brahman in the Hindu pantheon. Amaterasu with her Shinto pantheon. Horus, god of pharaohs, along with the Egyptian pantheon. Even with their combined forces, the apocalyptic dragon, also known as Trihexa, proved to be a formidable opponent. Spells upon spells were thrown at it, and still it stood resolute. One swing of its arm decimated a sixth of their forces, and a blast of magic equated to a fourth. Their deaths were prevented by the gods whose sovereignty had control over death. They safeguarded departed souls from being devoured by Trihexa as their opposites who ruled over life resurrected the fallen warriors. They had succeeded. They had defeated the apocalyptic dragon Trihexa, but not without cost. During the sealing of the great beast, Mao had sacrificed himself so that God could finish the ritual. Even then, God had not escaped unscathed either. God's fate had been sealed. Trihexa had cursed God. In the future, God's angels would fall to temptation and attack the devils. Believing them to be its angels, the devils declared war, led by their new leaders, the four Mao. And for many a year the three factions clashed for dominion. At the apex of the war, the Yandai Mao and God would clash in one final bout, forfeiting their lives, thus concluding the Great War. Banished and sealed into a separate dimension, Trihexa now reverted back into a lotus, stayed in stasis. For the first millennia it fought and fought against the boundaries, restraining it to no avail. The seals were too strong. It needed more power to break free. However, the seals prevented it from absorbing energy. Trihexa epiphanized. God only accounted for the energy sources of this dimension, but Trihexa's origins lie in a radical different plane. One God did not account for. When Trihexa first arrived in the dimensional gap, it only possessed 10% of its original max capacity. 40% had been stolen away by the human who had defeated it. Trihexa was enraged by the thievery of its power, so it swelled up like a bloated balloon and exploded. However, at the last moment, the human who had defeated it expelled it a separate dimension, where the resulting explosion killed the human, but at the cost of 50% of its power. The explosion also repelled it to the dimensional gap, but not before it reverted into its weakened lotus form. And there it regained back an additional 70% by stealing from Ophis and Great Red. At 80% of its max power, Trihexa almost single-handedly destroyed this dimension. Kokabeel laughed loudly and landed on the ground. The leader of fallen angels stood confidently while radiating an intense aura. With a fearlessly smirk he ordered, "You there, Security, use your sacred gear and transfer all the power you can muster to your ally." "Don't mess around, Kokabeel," Rias Gremory indignantly shouted. Kokabeel gave a full laugh, his eyes narrowed in the slightest. "Don't mess around. Are you really think you in any real position to say that? Honestly, do you think your group has the remote possibility of striking me down?" For added effect, Kokabeel flared his 10 wings. "None of you here can possibly fathom the extent of my power. Now will you do as I have command, Security, or do I need to repeat myself?" To punctuate his statement, the overwhelming and oppressive weight on the shoulders of the Occult Research Club became heavier. Many of the members' bodies shivered due to fear. This was the power of a high-rank fallen angel, one who has been recorded in the Bible. Rias turned to face a girl. This girl has long russet brown hair wrapped in a bun. 2 long side bangs extended past her shoulders which twirled at the end. Her body rivaled that of Rias and Akino's. Along with Rias and Akino, she is remarked as being one of the great ladies of Kuo despite only being a second year.
She was none other than a proud pawn of Ria's peerage and holder of the sacred gear, boosted gear, Hyodo Itsuko.
Itsuko, hurry and activate your sacred gear, boost. The call rang out along with the bright red glow of the gauntlet.
For several minutes not one person dared take a step. Poor Asia trembled greatly. Everyone else fared slightly better with the exception of the former fallen angels, Kawalamer and Rainier, and Phoenix Ravel and her assistant Ubeluna. That was given since as fallen angels Rainier and Kawalamer must have felt this kind of power before. With Ravel and Ubeluna they are veterans from rating game matches.
It's here, Itsuko shouted. The boost had reached the limit. Great. Now transfer it to someone, said Kokebiel imperiously. Itsuko, transfer it to me. Hi, bucko. The light of the jewel of the gauntlet passed onto Rias, and a red aura of demonic power blazoned into existence. With this amount of power not even a speck of dust would be left afterwards, Kiba remarked. Fuahaha, Kokebiel laughed in delight. Yes yes yes. Looks like you inherited your brother's talent. Now show the fabled power of destruction.
From Rias' hands shot towards Kokebiel was a block of highly condensed demonic power coated the power of destruction. It rapidly zoomed towards the fallen angel who had so far made no sudden move to block or dodge. Before the moment of impact, Kokebiel raised one hand and held it palm facing outwards.
Everyone observed the cloud with expectant eyes and baited. Kokebiel had been overconfident in his ability and was obliterated by the attack. Did we do it? Asia timidly asked as she healed injured members.
Interesting. Interesting indeed. A familiar voice rang from within the dust cloud. A shadow sighted from within the cloud casually strolled towards the group.
The cloud was sudden cleared with a gust of wind. Kokebiel, except for his tattered robes, had received no damage. Kiba and Xenovia rushed towards him, swords poised. Xenovia with her Durandal took to the sky, bringing down the obtuse weapon as Kiba closed in from the side, slashing at the fallen angel diagonally using his holy demonic blade. Forming spears of light in each hand, Kokebiel effortlessly deflected their strikes and sent them barreling away. This was the power of one of the top echelons of fallen angels. Everyone had visages of despair and breathed ragged violent breaths. The only one holding the advantage smirked.
Despite the futility, I applaud your efforts. After losing your masters, you devils and followers still have the will to fight. Kokebiel scanned the faces and found the befuddled expressions of doubt. He laughed aloud as if he found it truly amusing.
Blonde Knight, how is it remotely possible that you have managed to combine two opposing powers, holy and demonic? It should be impossible. But of course the higher-ups surely want to keep this knowledge under wraps. As you all know, during the Great War the Yandai Mao died, but that's not all. Spreading his arms he gestured to everyone. God died. He died along with the Yandai Mao. With their absence unique phenomenons such the brat's holy demonic sword occur.
It can't be. Lies, it's a lie. Xenovia's strength fell and her grip on Durandal loosened. It fell to the ground. She slid to her knees. A despondent expression. Xenovia's existence was in serving God, but God didn't existence. Therefore, she had no reason to live. No. Then what? Everything.
The fallen angel smirked. Well then rejoice. You will reunited with God. The group watched as a spear of light screamed towards Xenovia, who made no move to avoid. Without doubt it would certainly pierce her heart and kill her instantly.
Instead of death, Xenovia felt a wet substance splash her face and a heavy object crash into her. Slowly opening her eyes, she saw a body on top of her. The group rushed to her aid. Xenovia-san, are you all right? Asked a certain caring nun. Who is this person? Gently pushing the body off of her, Xenovia was now able to examine her savior. He wore the standard Kuo uniform except the sleeves were rolled up to his elbows. His moppy, short, spiky hair is a dull gray. But the most peculiar observation isn't the whisker marks on his cheeks but the black sleep mask over his eyes. All in all his looks were pretty average. A gasp from Ravel. Naruto-san. Why is he here? Ravel, do you know this student?
Yes, bucko Naruto-san is a second-year student like I and he shares all of my classes. Furthermore, he's just a regular human and must have gotten caught within the barrier. I believe you have more pressing concerns than a stray human. The fallen angel's aura began skyrocketing as he constructed a large magic array for his spell. Asia, focus on healing up Naruto and Ravel should stay with her. Ubeluna, you can stay to back up your king if you want. Everyone else, we have to stop him.
From the sky a black shadow descended. In a flash Kokebiel's wing soared through the air. Blood sprayed from the wound.
Arg. My wing. You, Vanishing Dragon, are you opposing me?
The moonlight illuminated the Vanishing Dragon's form. White-plated armor similar to Itsuko's, boosted gear scale mail. The Vanishing Dragon quietly laughed.
This enraged Kokebiel. Countless spears of light lit up the night. Unintimidated, my name is Albion. Divide. Immediately Kokebiel's aura got reduced and half of the spears vanished.
The Security's ability lets the user double its power every 10 seconds. As the Hakuryuko, I have the power of my opponent every 10 seconds. Your power will become my power. If you don't hurry up, you will become weaker than a human.
Divide. With a roar, Kokebiel lunged at Albion with a spear of light, but the vanishing dragon easily caught it within his grip and crushed it. Divide. Albion sighed, already the power of a mid-level, boring, I thought I would have more fun.
Burying his fist in Kokebiel's gut, the fallen angel reared over and vomited.
Impossible. Me. Albion laughed, what, you have resorted to spouting common grunt lines? What's next? This can't be. Azazel ordered me to take back by force. You acted out of line.
Azazel, so that's how it is, huh? Azazel, closing in, Albion had a punch coiled ready to knock the fool out but leapt back. Good thing too. A barrier of purple flames erupted around Kokebiel. The flames spread to within the enclosed space and burned Kokebiel alive. His screams punctured the air. The fallen angel clawed at the wall helplessly as the flames ate him alive. The barrier faded, leaving scorch marks on the ground. No trace was left of Kokebiel.
Looks like we can't interrogate Kokebiel anymore. Now where's Freed? There are things I need to ask that shitty exorcist. Spotting the body of Freed, Albion flung the body over his shoulder. Albion spread his wings and took flight. Get stronger, possessor of Diedrich, I will fight you one day. Asia's hands fell to her sides, exhausted. She worked furiously to heal the gaping wound, but it wouldn't heal no matter what. Ravel used a vial of tears. That failed also. It was perplexing. Ravel-sama, what if we resurrected the boy into your peerage? Suggested the Bomber Queen. Like Rias, Ravel Phoenix is a high-class devil, and thus it would be befitting of her to have pieces. Under the command of Riser, she lacked the time to formally search for her own. After Riser's subsequent defeat to Rias, her mother had requested that Rias allow Ravel to study at Kuo under Rias' protection. Rias accepted the request.
Lady Phoenix believed that it was time for Ravel to be in her own peerage and asked for a volunteer. And Ubeluna offered to be Ravel's queen. Ravel saw the Bomber Queen as an older sister and was overjoyed. Riser wasn't happy, but he reluctantly accepted his queen's wish.
Ravel thought over the proposition. Her brother's peerage consisted of former humans, and as a matter of fact Ubeluna was one herself. Deciding to start low and work upwards, Ravel snapped her fingers and a brief flash of light appeared within her hand. The light died down to reveal an object. A golden chess piece. It was a knight. Using this, Ravel would resurrect the male as her servant. Stepping back after she placed the piece on his chest, Ravel recited the incantation. I command thee, Naruto, on my name of Ravel Phoenix, become my servant.
The piece glowed brightly. Nothing happened. Frowning, Ravel replaced the knight piece with a rook. She was met with failure once again. She tried the bishop. That didn't work either. Last of all was the pawn. This time the piece sank into Naruto's body. He remained motionless. More pawn pieces were required. Her eyes twitched dangerously. Naruto's body had accepted 4 pawn pieces, yet it rejected the other 4. Next to her, Asia and Ubeluna watched silently, but their thoughts were along the same lines of Ravel.
A myriad of combinations were used. Knight, double bishop, double rook plus a knight, double rook and double knight. At one point Ravel threw on the rest of her pieces despite a notion of caution from Ubeluna. Even then nothing happened. At the brink of frustration, Ravel exhausted all venues. She dropped to her knees. She ran out of options. Wait, she came to the sudden realization, there's still that method. Under normal circumstances, a Phoenix could not directly heal another person's wound, only indirectly through the tears. The method Ravel mentioned was a special ritual which can only be employed the females of the Phoenix blood lineage. However, if she were to use this method, it would have unforeseen consequences. Ravel's face loomed mere centimeters away from Naruto's. Her cheeks were flushed a brilliant scarlet. Ravel's soft, pink lips embraced Naruto's in a chaste kiss as she sent a surge of magic. A bright glow blotted out their forms. When it died down, Ravel removed her lips, her face still flushed. Ubeluna, shocked, watched the scene play out with widened eyes. She immediately understood what happened and the significance of her master's actions. Naruto twitched. He quietly breathed as his body restarted the functions vital to life. Previously unhealable, the wound closed right before their eyes, leaving a scar underneath his heart. A testimony to his near-death experience. Asia, Ravel, Ubeluna, Itsuko-san, Asia waved. The group congregated. Rias directed her gaze towards the newly birthed and sleeping devil. Let's wake him up and explain the situation. No need, I'm already awake. Naruto slowly pulled himself upright. He languidly slid his sleep mask up. Heterochromatic marine and magenta eyes half-lidded revealed themselves to the world. Without breaking tempo, propped one knee and pushed off of it.
Muttering under his breath, what has absolute choice gotten me into now?
Naruto's eyes scanned the persons before him. His eyes widened ever so slightly when they landed on Itsuko. Only the shadows on his face hid the change. So anyone interested in explaining the situation to me?
Rias cleared her throat with a couth, gaining Naruto's attention. The occult research club is merely a clever ruse. Everyone here sans Zenobia is a devil. Punctuating her statement, Rias unfurled bat-like wings, followed suit by the other members. Furthermore, you are now a devil. You were caught by a stray spear and suffered a fatal injury. You surely would have died was it not for Revel's quick decision-making.
Naruto raised an eyebrow at Revel. Dumo, Revel-san. Revel crossed her arms before looking away in a huff, her cheeks dusted pink. Think nothing of it. I just acted. Besides, from here onwards I'm your master and it's only natural for me to help out my servant. It's late, so is it okay if we continue our discussion tomorrow in the clubroom? Come to the clubroom tomorrow after school. Revel will escort you there. At school the next day, Naruto did what he usually did during class. He covered his eyes with his sleep mask and slept. The teachers ignored him since he held a spot in the top 10, and whenever they called on him he answered the question correctly. Smack dab next to him sat Revel. It was strange to her how calmly Naruto acted considering he died and came back to life as a devil. She sent furtive glances at him which could easily be misinterpreted as her having feelings towards the sleeper. Once the bell rang signaling the end of school, Revel awoke Naruto from his slumber with a gentle shake. She led him through the corridors and hallways to the entrance of the clubroom. To her surprise, she saw the battle nun Zenobia sitting on the couch casually sipping tea. As it turns out, Rias turned Zenobia into devil, taking up the vacant night slot. I found out that God is gone, so I turned into a devil as a self-abandonment. I gave back the Excalibur fragment. Having Durandal is enough for me. When I informed the Church of God's death, I was branded an outsider. You know how the Church hates outsiders and heresy. Even if that person wielded Durandal, it was the same with Asia Argento. Irina was lucky she was wounded during the battle. Her belief is stronger than mine. If she found out, then I don't know what would happen to her. She was disappointed that I became a devil. I couldn't tell her the reason, obviously. Rias confirms the arrival of the guest. Let's start. As the crimson-haired devil finished, do you have any questions, Naruto-san? No, I think I got the gist of it. Right now I'm a low-class devil of the lowest value. I can rank up and get my own peerage. Not only that, there are two other factions, the Church and fallen angels are our mortal enemies. Furthermore, the God from the Bible is dead. Am I missing anything else? Nope, that was spot on, answered Rias. Well then, if we are finished here I'll go home, stated Naruto, raising from his seat. Not yet, Naruto-san. As a new devil you have certain duties. Revel, if you will. Revel snapped her fingers. A magic circle appeared and out came a stack of papers. Naruto, your first assignment is to pass out these flyers, explained his fellow classmate. He accepted the stack, stuffing the pile inside his bag. Okay, is there anything else or can I leave now? Itsuko spoke up. Naruto-san, I've noticed that we only know your given name. You have yet to disclose your family name. Her eyes narrowed on, family name. Ah, scratching his head, it's H Naruto, and I should really get going now. Jamada Auto-da. Glibly, Naruto escaped any further questioning by exiting the room. Left in the clubroom, Itsuko's hand traced a small scar on her navel obscured by her uniform. Is it possible? Can he really be? The setting sun cast an orange glow. On autopilot, Naruto walked home, taking slow and deliberate steps. Really, anyone else would have panicked after learning of the existence of the supernatural. I die and become a devil, yet I take it all in spades, sighing mentally. What's next? An angel falls out of the sky. Naruto joked. Naruto stopped in front of a playground abandoned of children because at this time they were at home. Laying on the ground was an Arrow magazine. Yaraer, who just leaves a Arrow magazine in a playground? I should dispose this harmful material. He glanced left then right. As a high school student there was the issue of keeping appearances. People misunderstood. His hand brushed the spine of the piece of literature. Errand. 1. Press it against your face and smell it. 2. Eat it. Not again, he lamented. Like I could pick either. An intense pain struck his head. Itai, irande, choose. With every passing moment the pain grew until it felt as if his head was being split open. Under the delusion of pain, Naruto ran up the slide before sliding down. He smashed his head against the steel support. Good thing he was a devil now. He finally fell to his knees and feebly crawled up to the erotic magazine. The paper crumpled with the deep labored breathing. Removing the offending object from his face, he saw the floating choices fade into oblivion.
Zatai Sentakushi, otherwise known as absolute choice, is the name of the condition, the affliction, the curse. As the name implies, he is randomly presented with choices in which he has to choose one or the other. No matter how illogical or irrational the choices may be.
Every man is the architect of his own future. Life is a series of choices. People are always troubled by something and are always making choices. Making choices is important. Success and failure in life stem from the choices one makes. What do choices mean to you? 1. Make it a touch screen.
2. Make it a flip phone. The iPhone becomes a worldwide phenomenon. 1. Give up already. 2. Never give up. The Wright brothers become the first to fly and pave the way for aeromechanics. 1 + 1 = 2. 2 E = mc squared. The theory of relativity. After seeing all the possible choices these great people in history have made, it can be said the choices you make directly impact the environment around you.
The history of evolution was achieved through choices, and even now elsewhere on Earth choices are being made.
Sighing, Naruto did a lot of that. He deposited the magazine into the trash and resumed his journey home. Absolute choice made his life miserable. His current living conditions was caused by it. His new life as a devil was also the indirect result of a choice. He swore it was like he is the protagonist of a light novel, manga, anime or something along the line.
Here comes Murphy's Law. Irande, huh, seriously again? I what?
Above him the clouds morphed into his choices. 1. A beautiful girl falls from the sky. 2. A beautiful Undine falls from the sky. What the hell are these choices? Nothing ever makes sense with absolute choice and anything happens. Whatever I pick will happen. So, he internally debated, a beautiful girl or an Undine. As I recall, Undine or water nymphs, so should I pick option 2? Naruto's body unconditionally shuddered. The image of muscular thing crushing and smothering him between its obtuse muscles invaded his mind. A head-splitting pain brought him to his knees. If option 2 doesn't work, then 1. I choose the first one.
He looked up in gratitude as the pain disappeared. Huh, an object burst through the clouds and it was descending rapidly, heading straight towards him.
Another mental sigh, he lamented, Naze fuko da, or wa kyoko no sutori no shujinko ga irukera. Why am I so unfortunate? Is it because I'm the protagonist of a fictional story? The falling object collided with him head-on. The impact shot up dust in a cloud. Slowly, Naruto peeked his right eye and got a faceful of panty, white, lace panty.
Gomenase. An angelic voice melodiously rang out. The figure shifted position until he hoped it was a she. Naruto would kill himself if it was a guy, had her plump rump on his chest. Then for the first time he saw her. The first thing he noted was her eyes, they are a deep forest green. Then he saw her hair, which is a rich fusion of honey and golden wheat. She had a voluptuous body, one which was the envy of women and the desire of men. He brushed aside a soft, feathery wing. Wait, a wing. His eyes trailed up the wings and he counted 12, a set of 6 on each side. Her green eyes bore into his with curiosity. You're Naruto, right? It sounded more like a statement and then a question. Hajime Mashita, nice to meet you. My name is Gabriel and I've come to help you. Naruto was shocked to the core, but not by the fact that an angel fell on top of him. He already knew Gabriel's name before she introduced herself. How could he have known? Floating above Gabriel's head were these words in blue. It is the darkest time of the day, twilight, the period between nighttime and daybreak. The earliest glow of the sun creeped its way through the ajar opening of the small tent. Oddly, Naruto felt very comfortable. A warm heat pervaded his body, expelling the frosty chill of the Arctic air. Turning over, Naruto draped his arm over his pillow, although he felt an anomaly with his current condition. 1. His head is already resting on his pillow. 2. He only had one pillow. 3. Soft and subdued breathes tickled his neck. With inherent glibness, he slowly slid his always-on him black sleep mask up. He creaked an eye open. Fuko datbeo, he cursed. Looking down, he recognized the source of his most recent headache, Gabriel. Her sleeping face is nestled into the crux of his neck. Not only that, Naruto's arm is deeply enveloped between her generous bosom, which is also pushing up against his chest. If that wasn't bad enough, her leg is entwined with his. This is the position close lovers often adopted. What kind of sleepwear is that? Gabriel wore tantalizing clothing which opposed the image of an angel. How had he ended up in this compromising and easily misunderstood position? Once Naruto had gotten over his shock of seeing what looked like a name bar from a RPG, he resumed his trek home with Gabriel in tow.
Naruto's journey took him past the outskirts of town and into the desolate woods. Gabriel wondered why Naruto traveled so far. They traveled a sharp meandering path through the woods until they reached a small clearing. It showed signs of human inhabitants. There was a small tent, a fire pit, an assortment of pots and pans and containers of water. Off in the distance Gabriel heard the sound of rushing water, most likely a river. Naruto cast a glance over his shoulder, hoping his recent problem was only a hallucination, a trick of his mind and sanity. Nope, she's still here. So Angel-san. No good, Naruto-san, she interrupted, you can refer to me as Gabriel. Okay, so Gabriel-san, he received an approving nod from the angel. During your self-introduction you mentioned helping me. Help me do what exactly?
I've come to help you rid yourself of your curse.
He raised a questioning eyebrow. By curse are you referring to my condition as a devil or? He trailed off.
No, the curse I'm talking about is your absolute choice.
Naruto, while scratching his chin, med, my affliction is a burden, that's for certain, but I've never thought about freeing myself of this predicament. Nonetheless, you say you know a way to cure it. Technically, I'm not the one who knows the answer. God knows it. Before he could talk, Naruto's pocket started vibrating. Reaching into the offending pocket, his hand wrapped around something rectangular.
A phone? I don't have a phone. The caller identification had the name, God. Answer it, Naruto-san. Right. Pressing the green button, he brought up the phone to his ear.
Hello, Heyo, it's God. At that instance, Naruto swore he started hearing an upbeat tune play in the background, but a glance at Gabriel's genial smile he surmised that this must be the work of God.
So you're God. That's what I told you, no Naruto-kun, replied God. This guy is so flippant, Naruto remarked. Well, how can you be God when God is dead?
I see, you know about that, huh? You're right, God is dead, but someone had to become the replacement. The other angels decided it should be me because I was God's right-hand man.
As for getting rid of your curse, apparently all you have to do is keep clearing missions. According to this, I think you should get a notification or something. Why does it sound like you're reading something? Naruto asked dubiously. Bingo. Naruto's eye twitched. I've been God for a while now, and I've seen a lot of curses in my day. But your curse, I don't understand a single thing about. You see, your curse is unprecedented in history. In fact, I only learned of its existence yesterday when a script magically appeared on my desk. Imagine my surprise when I read the contents. Don't worry though, I am a very capable angel to support you. Oh, one last thing, if you do anything to hurt my sister then I'll have to hunt you down. Alrighty then, bye-bye. The call was ended. He released another tired sigh and lamented his fortune or apparent lack of. A quick check of his watch showed it as 8 p.m. and his stomach growled. Gabriel giggled lightly at his expense, until her stomach also growled and she looked away with blush. Naruto scratched his chin before shrugging. Make yourself comfortable, Gabriel-san, I'll start on dinner. With some dry wood and a spark, Naruto ignited a nice flame. He placed a tempered metal sheet over the flame and left it alone. Moving to the side, he scrounged through his utensils for a pan. From his elaborately set-up refrigerator and freezer combo he pulled out market-bought beef and vegetables. After properly washing the ingredients, Naruto skillfully blended and cooked the yakisoba before serving it to Gabriel. His pan wasn't big enough to make 2 servings, so he gave the first to her before cooking his own. They finished eating dinner at promptly 9, with Naruto brewing up post-dinner cocoa. As he handed Gabriel a cup, "Careful, it's still hot," he cautioned. Gabriel graciously accepted the cup, blowing on it before taking a cautionary sip. She felt the liquid gently warm her up from the inside. Naruto drank his cocoa, staring at the starry sky in solemn silence. She observed her charge with a critical eye. She had the foreboding sense that events in the future will become chaotic and Naruto somehow, someway would be at the center of it all. I take it, Gabriel-san, you'll be returning to heaven? He asked hopefully. Gabriel clapped her hands together. You're mistaken, Naruto-san, I'll be staying with you until your curse is removed. Naruto suppressed a groan. He entered his tent and returned with an orange scarf and brown winter jacket. I never expected to have guests of any kind, so I never prepared. My tent will be a tight fit for 2 people. So for tonight you take the tent and I'll sleep outside. Tomorrow in town after school I'll requisition a larger tent to accommodate the 2 of us. I can't do that, Naruto-san. It would be cruel of me to force you to brave the cold. You can sleep with me inside the tent. Naruto argued against her decision. Alas, Gabriel was adamant on her stance. Too bad Naruto is just as stubborn. Irande. 1. Choose to share the tent with Gabriel. 2. Choose to share the tent with Gabriel while naked. Sighing in resigned defeat. All right, Alright, I'll share the tent, however the space will be appropriately divided.
Naruto is on his side, so that meant Gabriel, during the night, encroached into his space. Peering through the small opening of the tent, Naruto estimated it as around 4 or 5 in the morning. Worming his way out of Gabriel's grasp was harder than he thought. On his first attempt she subconsciously tightened her hold on him. He spent the last 5 or so minutes freeing himself. Now outside the tent, Naruto stretched out his back, working out the kinks with satisfying cracks. Thoroughly stretched, he ventured away from the clearing until he ended up in another one. This clearing is different. It had a range sent up with 3 round targets, and on the opposite is a wooden log used for training. Next to it are small training weights. Only in school did Naruto become inactive and sleep through the day. Out here in his element, his body refused to be slothful. Relaxing his body, Naruto began his morning workout. Naruto, no matter before anything else, he always did a set of
100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats. He is a devout follower of the Saitama method, or the One Punch Man method after all. Afterwards, he strained his body with a rigorous regimen imparted to him by his former instructor from his childhood, Jin Tae Jin. Bless his teacher's departed soul.
By the time Naruto was finished, he had worked up quite the sweat. With the use of a towel, Naruto wiped the sweat off of his skin before removing his shirt. Underneath the shirt lies a fit and lithe frame. But the most noticeable aspect are 2 scars. One, which is an incision-like scar, is located on his navel. Another similar incision-like scar is located just below where the human heart resides.
Sliding his board shorts off, Naruto was left with only a pair of swim trunks. Rubbing his hands, Naruto braced himself before plunging straight into the nearby and icy cold river. Naruto dried and warmed himself up by starting a fire before he changed into his school uniform, which he had conveniently stashed outside the night before. Today's breakfast was a simple meal of grilled salmon with white rice. Naruto prepared a portion for Gabriel, who graciously accepted the food. Gabriel told Naruto that she would report back to heaven and may not return due to preparation for an important meeting. Now Naruto was certain something was up. He surmised Gabriel's situation as an isolated case, but nope, life could never be easy for him. Wherever he looked, he saw what equated to a name bar above people's heads. For example, he was walking behind Matsuda, the other half of the perverted duo. He saw this. Lolicon file. Matsuda LV. 3 rushing to the male restrooms before homeroom, Naruto checked his reflection in the mirror.
The gamer. H. N. U. U. Naruto. LV. 8. I know what the H is for, but the last 3 initials baffle me, and so does the gamer. What's that supposed to mean? Revel stared at Naruto in disbelief. The teacher turned around and dropped his chalk in disbelief. Everyone's eyes followed the teacher's gaze, and they too stared in disbelief. Naruto, who perpetually slept in class, is awake. Naruto raised his hand. Sensei, can we resume the lesson? Clearing his throat, the teacher promptly explained derivatives to the class, resuming the lesson. Naruto didn't need or want to be the center of attention. There are more immediate matters to attend to. If absolute choice wasn't bad enough, now I see people's names and levels. Maybe this could be one of those sacred gears I learned about. I'll try asking Revel-san. At lunchtime, Naruto pulled out the onigiri and coffee milk, his usual lunch, that he purchased from a convenience store on the way to school. Revel. Hey Revel. He leaned over and nudged her. She turned to Naruto and her face instantly reddened. Hi na Naruto-san. She stuttered. You'd say you're pretty knowledge on sacred gears, right? Do you know of a sacred gear that lets you see the names of people and their levels? I can't say I have, but like Kiba's, it could be an unnatural phenomenon. Although, if it is, then your sacred gear doesn't look impressive if that's the sole function. We should ask Rias Bucko during the meeting. Sorry, Revel-san, I won't be able to attend today. There's somewhere I have to go. Can you ask the Bucho for me? Please, he pleaded to his friend. She contemplated the notion. Fine, however, you owe me a favor and you have to pass out the flyers. Dumo. With a shout, he embraced her in a hug. Revel's body instantly stiffened, but she returned the gesture. Thank you for your purchase. Come again. Naruto exited the outdoor shop with his purchase, a tent, secured under his arm. At his clearing, he took down his old tent and replaced it with a newer, larger one. Inside, he wrote a quick note to Gabriel explaining he had devil duties and will most likely return late. Reaching inside his bag, Naruto pulled out the stack of flyers. The phone in his pocket vibrated. That must be the mission notification. He took out the phone and checked the inbox. Inside his mission. When his finger touched the box. Ping. A quest has been created. Quest alert. Devil's first errand. You're a newly resurrected devil. Your first duty is such as to pass out flyers. These will help build your king's renown and your level.
Completion. EXP 500 increased closeness with King failure. Decrease in closeness with King, yes. No, Naruto threw his hands up in exasperation and groaned, Fuko, TT Ibeo. Later. That is the last flyer, and I'm done. Now what happens nay? Quest completed EXP 500 closeness up, then on top of that came another blue boxed message.
Your level went up by 1. I gained experience points and then I leveled up, just like in a video game. If that's so, then there should be a status screen where I can allocate points. Nothing is appearing. Let's see if this works.
Status window. Like magic, a window popped up in front of his face. I'll allocate the points later. Since that worked, then I should be able to check my inventory.
Inventory. Just like before, another box appeared replacing the status window. This box showed male figure in the middle with 12 separate boxes surrounding him. That took up one half of the screen. The other half consisted of 24 individual empty boxes. Naruto tested his theory by stashing his school bag into an empty compartment. It worked and the bag was properly stored inside. He tried taking out the object and that worked just as smoothly. Next on the list is the skills list.
To his surprise, he already had a couple of skills. One of those skills is locked.
Naruto knew the skill would be locked, of course. He was only a devil for 2 days. He had yet to receive formal training. There were others, but he'd reveal them in the comfort of his tent. However, the skill at the top of the list confirmed his suspicions.
No, just know what? How? Absolute choice, sacred gear.
Description unavailable. Weird. It's nighttime but I don't hear a single thing, Naruto noted mid-journey. In fact, there isn't a single light coming through the windows despite it only being 8. Alarms blared from within his head.
GGGOOAAUUU. Looking over his shoulders, he saw a shadow approach the street light. The figure is distinctively male, but the way he walked with a staggering limp unnerved him.
When he stepped into the light, Naruto recoiled in slight shock. The creature's suit was disheveled with tears in the fabric. Not only that, he was missing a few teeth. But the most concerning fact is the sickly green skin and the eyeball hanging out from its socket. His enhanced devil eyesight scoped further figures in the distance. He scowled. It looks like he's going to have to fight his way out of here.
Ping. A skill has been created through a special action. Through continuous observation, a skill to find the target's information, observe, has been created.
A new skill. As they say, there's no better time than the present.
Observe. Zombie LV8 hydrogen phosphide. 800 megapixels. 50 a walking corpse, no matter how it died. It hates the living and will attack with prejudice, consuming the flesh of the unlucky victim. Although it is slow, its strength is twice that than when it was alive.
Expelling a deep breath, Naruto shifted his legs apart into a modified horse stance. Usually with the horse stance, the practitioner equally distributes half of his weight equally between his legs. Naruto leaned slightly back so the distribution is 65 to 35. His back is slightly bent. His arms, which are to his sides, are bent also.
A gamer's mind. How should I deal with these things? As a devil, my strength has increased. In addition, this is enemy territory, meaning promotion is available. Logically, Rook is the best option. If they are as slow as the observe says, then my speed won't matter. Naruto bounced on the heel of his feet, noticing the mentioned drop in speed. He would work around that easily enough. From his position, he shot forward, lashing out with a viscous renewal snap kick. The attack knocked down the zombie's health by roughly a fourth. He shifted to the side, avoiding the zombie's lumbering swipe. Then, latching onto the zombie's overextended arm, Naruto stepped to the side before delivering a powerful corkscrew punch. As the zombie was keeled over, he finished it with a Rook enhanced axe kick. Naruto quickly memorized the skills before closing the message window. In addition, observe leveled up, allowing him to see exactly how much damage he inflicted. Naruto attacked the next victim with a left jab, lynching off 220 HP before resetting his attack sequence with a power strike, enhanced right cross, and dishing an additional 330 HP, which procced a critical, doubling the damage to 660 HP. Zombies surrounding him from all sides and charged him, swarming him en masse. Naruto placed hope in that Rook. He bulldozed his way through the thinnest pocket in the swarm. He hadn't gone unscathed. His right forearm sported a shallow gash and he bled from a small cut on his cheek. The body's durability increases, allowing for less damage taken. 3% decrease in damage taken by attacks while ducking over an overhead swing. Naruto swept its leg from underneath. Before it can recover, Naruto snuffed out its life by crushing the head with a stomp. He dispatched zombies with powerful combos. He jumped to a nearby roof with his enhanced strength and surveyed the area. The neighborhood is infested with zombies. They stumbled about, bumping into each other and obstacles such as walls. Naruto's phone vibrated with another mission. Ping, a quest has been created. Quest alert, first time. Welcome to the life of a gamer. This is your first dungeon and first time hunting mobs. Slay 10 zombies. Completion. EXP 900, instant dungeon create. Instant dungeon escape.
Cannot be refused. Quest is automatically accepted. Dungeon cannot be exited otherwise.
With the only course of action laid out, Naruto stepped off the roof. After his 5th zombie kill, Naruto noticed objects laying on the ground.
This was dropped by the zombie, he noted. That's right, in-games items are dropped when hunting monsters.
Naruto busted quite a few hours in online games. It was a phase he experienced during the summer between middle school and high school, where he spent his days surfing the net in cheap, well-conditioned net cafes. He still frequented those cafes in his boredom.
Reaching down, he picked up the small purple crystal and observed it in the moonlight.
You have obtained the item, Soul Crystal, Soul Crystal. Naturally occurring magic stones which house the souls of slain foes. Used to enchant weapons and equipments. Requires the appropriate equipment. Next he picked up bones. Bones, remains of the dead used in training the prayer skill. Bury the bones into the ground. Quickly he stored the items in his inventory and resumed his quest. AANNDD, that's 10. Since I've cleared the quest, one no longer have to be here.
Instant dungeon escape. Naruto returned to his humble abode, noticing the distinct lack of a certain seraph. His body was exhausted in addition to being sore, and he fell straight asleep.
Really, I shouldn't be so surprised anymore, Naruto remarked. He stood, floated, in an empty white void. His body is transparent.
The space warped and distorted, bringing Naruto to a familiar village and park. He had not a clue how he knew, but he did. Beside him is a young boy no older than 6 with bright blonde hair, cerulean eyes and whisker marks.
The boy tightly gripped the handle of the swing, which he sat on with a disheartened expression. His mood sank further as he watched parents happily interact with their children. The boy realized his mistake too late. He had ran into a dead end. Fearfully, he turned as heavy footsteps approached. "The demon," a figure drunkenly slurred. This is your fault." The man titled his head back, sucking out every last drop of liquor. The bottle fell with a crash as it broke into jagged pieces. The boy only huddled, making himself smaller as the obviously drunk man hammered blow upon blow onto the defenseless child. Naruto watched from behind the man in abject horror. What was wrong with this man?
The man picked up a discarded brick, poised with the intention to scramble the kid's skull. Naruto noticed the kid's eyes bleed red as the man swung. Then right there, the kid drove a fork, which he probably picked off of the ground, into the man's abdomen. The man dropped the brick and cursed as he removed the implanted fork.
Using the opportunity, the kid ran around the man and kept running. "Mizuki, don't. You know that's forbidden. You see, the reason why the village despises you, why they call you demon, is simple. The Yondaime couldn't kill the Kyuubi." Mizuki's grin stretched and his eyes narrowed in sadistic glee. "So he sealed it into you. You are the Kyuubi, the monster incarnate." Putting away his orange book, a spiky silver-haired man examined the 3 before him. Naruto saw the blonde-haired boy from before, a pink-haired girl and dark-haired boy who both look familiar, along with the silver-haired man. "I'm going to teach how to climb trees without your hands. Now listen closely." How can you be so strong?" A red-haired boy with the kanji for love tattooed asked with a voice barely above a whisper. The same blonde-haired boy Naruto kept seeing replied, "Beats me. Although, a friend once told me you're only strong when you have something precious to protect. For me, it would be those who have acknowledged my existence. Choose. 1. Kill them. 2. Eviscerate the bonds you have with them." Once again space warped and distorted. The morning rays of light crept through the opening. Ping, the skill, Rest, has been created. Rest, active and passive, LV. 1. By sleeping in bed your HP and energy will recover. Additionally, a full night's rest gives the well-rested effect. 10% increase in express gain for 10 hours. Naruto grunted softly as he turned over. His palm landed on a soft mound, an oddly soft mound. Warily, he opened his eyes cautiously, and lo and behold, there she was, the seraph, Gabriel. "And here I miraculously thought I had gotten rid of her," commented Naruto with a sigh. Irande. 1. Squeeze it. 2. Flaunt around school in a pink, frilly Mahu Shouju costume complete with a bow-tied chainsaw. The pain was instant this time. Ow. Both these options suck. I just hope Gabriel doesn't wake up. With a gulp, he fearfully squeezed the supple flesh, prompting a moan from the angel. He sighed in relief when no retaliation came, but his relief was short-lived. Ping, the skill, Grope, has been created. He cried, "I don't need a useless skill like this." Outside the tent, Naruto finished the Saitama set and reviewed his newfound abilities. 1. Certain actions get turned into skills. The grope skill was a testament to that. 2. Objects turn into items. There was probably more to discover. Then there is the issue of his stat allocation. Naruto pulled up the status window. With all these points, Naruto was extremely tempted to just equalize them, but he knew better. He made the mistake of creating a random character during his starting days as a gamer. They were good in the beginning but later on fell off in scaling. From experience, a character's stats are important because it determines his abilities. Leveling becomes harder and harder with each level. If he leveled incorrectly, then it would be an irreversible blunder. However, Naruto had the feeling it isn't so simple. Bucko should really get more chairs for the clubroom, Naruto noted airily as he was left standing behind his king, Revel. Not that he really minded. He tried his best to ignore the clandestine, steeled glances Itsuko sent his way. Not only that, Revel acted strangely. She would stammer during their conversations. She acted distracted. Hoping for an explanation, he asked Yubaluna, who smiled knowingly but wouldn't elaborate. Naruto yielded, hoping Revel would confide in him in the future. Rias confirmed the presence of all the members sans a certain Hikikomori Dampier. The church contacted the devils, precisely the Mao, about this incident. They apologized for Balba for letting him escape. The truth of this incident was sent to the angels and devils by the Viceroy of Fallen Angels, Azazel. Gabriel solely conspired the theft of the Excaliburs. He planned to break tensions between the fractions and start a war. Because of the flames consuming the fallen angel, Gabriel's status is registered as deceased. There will be a meeting between the representatives of angels, devils and Azazel. Apparently Azazel has an important matter to discuss. Perhaps he wanted to apologize for Gabriel's actions, though Azazel's actions are suspicious. We were also invited to that meeting. The Occult Research Club was at the center of the incident after all. Even as a new devil, Naruto knew the significance. He is shocked. Surveying the room, he found similar shocked expression. Naruto had a terrible feeling of foreboding. Okawa-san, Okawa-san, look, I did it, shouted a young child jubilantly. Her golden tails and fox ears twitched excitedly. From the porch, a soul woman laid down her tea with her 9 tails fanned behind. Kuno-chan, that's amazing. You are not even 10 yet, and you have already mastered the basics of Kistun Yujutsu. Kuno-chan, would you like to accompany Okawa-san on a trip? Kuno's eyes light up and she shot into her mother's lap. Where are we going? The Magatama parted to her as a gift from her father. The previous Kyuubi hummed with a warmth underneath her Miko outfit. Yasaka grew up without the maternal guidance of a mother. Her mother had unexpected complications during and died giving birth. Only her father raised her, and it would only be ironic that Kuno would grow up without a father. It was a one-night stand kind of deal and he didn't want the child. Where was Yasaka going with this? Oh yeah, the Magatama. For as long as she remembered as a child, her father always wore a black Magatama strung with a simple rope cord until one day he gave it to her. Yasaka, come here for a moment. Chu-san, I'm not going to lie, I'm dying, Yasaka. It's a slow and gradual process which has been ebbing away at my life force for centuries. With a hand he wiped away her tears. You see this Magatama? She nodded. It's a precious reminder of my best friend. At birth, my friend had been dealt a bad hand, yet he persevered. He clawed his way to the top with his indomitable will and his uncanny knack for trying harder. He was only human, yet he challenged God and defeated God. Where others failed, he lifted it over his head. Yasaka, take the Magatama. It will serve you well. If I'm lucky enough, perhaps it will even lead you to happiness. After that's my joy as a father. When her father passed away, Yasaka buried his remains underneath a blossoming sakura tree. Days prior, Yasaka noticed a disturbance in the ley lines pointing to one direction. Not only that, her information network informed her of a meeting with the 3 factions at that same place. Koho Academy, that flippant god, just wait until I get my hands on him. You see, Naruto's morning was uneventful as uneventful could be. The only thing awry was the absence of Gabriel, which he surmised as more heaven business to which she had to attend to. After warding his drowsiness away, Naruto submitted himself to his rigorous morning regimen before deciding to add variance. From a tree he plucked off a leaf and stuck it on his forehead. This was a training method he observed from his state of being within his lucid dreams. It was an exercise where the user directed all his chakra to a focal point, which in this case was the leaf. The exercise taught the user how to effectively control his chakra. As a devil, Naruto had a mana affinity, not chakra, but he theorized all he needed is to call on his mana. Sitting in lotus position and closing his eyes, Naruto tapped into his reserves. The leaf shot up into the sky before it lazily spiraled back to the earth. Too much, I channeled too much mana. I'll try again by lessening the output. Naruto settled down with leaf in tow and tried again. This time the result was more pleasurable, the leaf stuck to his head like cement glue. He merely sat and reveled in sense of tranquility and enlightenment. Suddenly, his eyes snapped open, an overwhelming and malevolent presence washed over him. It threatened to overtake and consume him. It was maddening with its cajoling. Naruto's body spasmed as he fought off the foreign force. Not much later, the deleterious force rescinded, leaving Naruto to recover. Ping, you have unlocked the ability to use chakra. Chakra control, passive, LV. 1 refers to the control of one's chakra and aptitude in controlling it. 2% increase in chakra recovery rate, 1% decrease in chakra consumption. That's amazing. Naruto groaned through gritted teeth, just amazing. Wisely, Naruto chose to skip breakfast. His stomach was too upset to digest food. Nonetheless, due to incorrigible habit, Naruto purchased his lunch from the convenience store. His phone began vibrating. What is it now? He grumbled. Ping quest alert, curse elimination mission. Spot Revel Fennig's panties being worn, completion. 8420 express increased closeness duration. 1 month cannot be refused. Panties. He exclaimed. Look at panties. That's impossible no matter how you look at it. Not even taking into account Revel is my classmate, friend and king. Naruto sulked his way to Class 2C and slumped down into his chair tiredly. School hadn't even started yet. Okay class, Sensei announced, Class 2C will be receiving a new transfer student today. The announcement went through Naruto like thin air, thoughts of the mission plagued his mind. The class murmured. A transfer student? We just had Revel transfer in just months earlier.
I hope it's a Bishonen prince, the girls proclaimed with hearts in their eyes.
I hope it's cute girl, are the guys' thoughts. You can come in now. The door slid open. In came a familiar person to Naruto in that case. A familiar blonde seraph walked in, the class observed with bated breath.
Hello everyone, Gabriel greeted. My name is Gabriel, Gabriel Vilteria. I am a foreign exchange student who is home staying. I won't say who, but it is someone within this class. Nice to meet you all, she finished her self-introduction with a bow.
Oh ho ho. Wow, so cute. Who is the lucky bastard? Saw, Vilteria-san, where should I place you? Perused the teacher. Your seat will be next to Naruto's, the gray-haired boy in the back.
Naruto resisted the urge to curse his misfortune. Instead, his face hit the desk in resignation.
Oh, that is right, since Vilteria-san has yet to receive her books. So Naruto, you will have to share your books with her.
Naruto's GI. Pulling the wrapped onigiri from his bag, Naruto unwrapped his lunch and took a measly bite. His stomach still felt disturbed, so he only took a measly bite out of the simple meal. His teeth worked the food over slowly before swallowing the lump. He almost coughed up the food when he felt a violent lurch within his stomach but forced it down. Stabbing the straw into the carton of coffee milk, Naruto washed the bile taste away with a flood of cocoa.
Just to the left of him sat Gabriel. She was swamped like bees to a pungent flower by a horde of students of both genders who assaulted her with a variety of both impersonal and personal questions. Which country were you born in? What do your parents do for a career? Why did you transfer to Japan? How is Japan? Do you have a boyfriend? Will you be my girlfriend? What color panties are you wearing? Can you show us your panties? Hey, there was something obviously wrong with those last 2 questions. With inconceivable politeness, Gabriel answered their questions. She even told the class she was wearing black panties, and many a bloodwell sprung up. Naruto face-palmed and almost spat out his coffee milk.
Because he lived with the seraph, Naruto had deduced from their interactions together that Gabriel was humble, polite and extremely pure-hearted. So when it clearly looked like she was going to lift up the hem of her skirt, whoa. Everyone look, there's a guy dressed in a pink Mahou Shoujo costume fighting a giant bear wearing a karate GI. They all rushed to the window. Oto, my mistake, I must be seeing things due to lack of sleep. My bad, my bad.
A bullet was dodged there. Choose. 1. Go into Haremu Taimu and be proposed to by students currently enrolled.
2. Something that feels really good will happen. Impossible, Naruto mentally exclaimed. Both of them are good choices. Then, taking out a coin, Naruto flipped it. Heads for option 1 and tails for the inverse. Heads, let's go for harem time. Being stressed out and wanting some privacy, Naruto made his way up to the secluded roof, where he nestled his head on a brought-along pillow, and peacefully watched the clouds as they lazily and slowly drifted without a care in the world.
Oddly laying here, Naruto remembered the image of a man with black hair pulled back into a spiky ponytail he had seen in his dreams. The man had a certain phrase he loved to say, Mendokusai, and was a close friend with the blonde-haired boy later turned man. Just like what Naruto was doing, the two often did the same, watch clouds. What's up with those choices earlier? He mulled over the subject. Usually the first choice is bad, and the second one is worse, meaning there is only one choice. At times they are both just as bad, other times one isn't as bad as the other. This time both the choices were good. The screeching of the bell signaled the end of lunch, and Naruto promptly returned to Class 2C. Naruto-san, there are 2 second years wanting to talk to you outside the classroom, a classmate informed Naruto during the period break.
Please go out with us. Naruto blinked once then twice. He checked his ears before asking in a deadpan, run that by me one more time Matsuda, Motohama.
Their sudden and abrupt lunge at him started the wild shoes chase around the school, where he ducked and weaved his way through the sharp turning corridors and the amorphous mass of people. Wait, Naruto-kun, go out with me too. Along the way Motohama and Matsuda had been joined by Saji of the student council and other indiscernible males, all of whom wanted to date him. Fuko Datbeo. I should have known it wouldn't be so simple. It said a harem, but never did it say it would be girls confessing to me.
Tired of the tiresome running, Naruto corralled the horde of raging, hormonal males to a secluded area behind to school.
Now you can't run anymore, Naruto-kun. Go out with us. Extreme wrestling time. There would be no extreme wrestling time, ever. Fuzukena. Naruto lashed out at the nearest guy, who just happened to be Motohama, with a sidekick and knocked him out cold. Then and there Naruto unleashed his fury in the form of his fists. It was a good thing that the victims of absolute choice forgot their actions under the curse afterwards. It would be too troublesome to explain. It was fortunate for Naruto, absolute choice ended before he went to the club meeting. He wasn't interested in keeping Kiba at bay. Interestingly enough, Gabriel went with him to the club to get a club membership form. He was lucky no one recognized who Gabriel was, although Calawarner and Rainier had suspicions. Rias was hesitant, but Gabriel reassured the Crimson Heiress under the guise of being a church liaison for the upcoming meeting. Nowrnnsgi, like a phantom, Naruto leapt through the night sky. His footsteps made no sounds as he cushioned them with his chakra. One might be wondering why Naruto didn't simply use a magic circle to reach his client. Apparently, he had high mana or chakra. He felt more comfortable with the terminology, reserves, which screwed up his control, causing the basic spell to overload and blow up in his face. He would have to level up chakra control if he wanted to perform the most basic of spells. Strange enough, Naruto felt more natural traveling on foot. Yo, Naruto lazily greeted his client, a middle-aged man at the man's mansion. Yo, Devil-kun, it's nice to see you, the client answered back. The client was a black-haired with golden bangs and had a black goatee. Despite the summer heat, he wore a yukata. The man led Naruto to a room where there were 2 expensive-looking computers set up. For the past few days the same client called for his services. Yesterday he told Naruto to go pick up midnight snacks from the convenience store. And the day before that the man just wanted someone to talk with him. Devil-kun, would you play a game with me? An interesting request. I need a partner to duo with because I'd like to have a person I can rely on.
That sounds good. Not that Naruto had any complaints. The man always gave Naruto high rewards. Jewelry, precious jewels, and even straight-up cash. Thanks to him, Naruto's wallet grew quite nicely.
The client booted up the computers and initialized the game program. Taking one computer, he motioned for Naruto to take the last one. Devil-kun, even if you don't know how to play, don't worry. I have a backup account and I'll teach you the basics in a few practice matches, explained the client as he typed in his login information. Naruto grinned. Oh, no need to worry, client-san. You could say I'm very, very familiar with the game, so we can jump straight into ranked. That's good to hear. Cracking his knuckles, the client chuckled. Then it's showtime. Client-san, get ready, I'm going to go around for a gank. Good, I'm about to reach level 6. The client quickly cleared the wave before initiating the gank with Dark Flight, providing the crucial knock-up for Naruto to provide the damage with Last Breath. Before the poor sap knew it, he had been automatically nuked from 100 to 0 within a matter of seconds. The matches were pretty much the same, with Naruto and the client dominating their lanes before going on to win the match. On their last match, Naruto couldn't resist the urge, face the wind. Haha, you're really getting into this, aren't you, Devil-kun? It's the only grace I have in my chaotic life. In a fantastic display of skill, Naruto, along with the client and the support, Lulu, engaged the enemy eye as the enemy was breathing down their nexus. The client and Lulu were able to combo their respective skills, knocking up the entire enemy team. Having the best setup imaginable, Naruto shredded the enemy team with Last Breath, and the client decided to be a general annoyance with his insane lifesteal survivability. Not wasting a single moment when the ultimate ended, Naruto dashed through the support to the ADC behind. With a lucky proc of his Shiv, Infinity Edge and critical combo, Naruto's character incapacitated the ADC. Not forgetting about the support, Naruto claimed his next victim. Naruto spotted the APC out of position and ended his life. Realizing that they were the last two alive, the top laner and jungler put up a feeble fight, but their efforts were for naught. After scoring the ace, Naruto and the client hard pushed mid lane up to the enemy nexus, and as the enemy began respawning, the client played the role of diversion. Victory. That certainly was fun, wasn't it, Devil-kun? We should do this again another time. Naruto shared the same sentiment. Yes, we should. Been nice meeting you, Azazel-san. The newly named Azazel smirked. Oh, I never recall giving you my name, so how did you know? Well, I don't. Naruto curtly shrugged. You've been my client countless times, yet I don't know your name. Calling you client-san all the time is too informal. Instead, I decided to use your in-game name, or IGN, Azazel. Azazel wept imaginary tears as his mood and head dropped. Depressed. That's what you meant. Undeterred. Well, Devil-kun, I'll formally introduce myself. I am Azazel, leader of the fallen angels. Nice to meet you, Naruto. 12 black jet wings expanded from the man's back. NOWRNNSGI. This isn't a joke. Rias Bucko had her eyebrows raised with an angry expression on her face. Ravel was just as angry and worried for her friend. Rias trembled with anger, even though it was decided that the meeting amongst the three factions would be held in this town. To think that the governor of fallen angels would suddenly intrude and interfere without business. The only other male member in the room, Kiba, the handsome prince, spoke up. I will protect you, Naruto-kun. A small shiver traveled up Naruto's spine. Kiba, that feels disgusting. Kiba, I'm happy, but how should I say this? If I hear such things from a man with a straight face, then I'll be trouble on how to respond. Without a care, Kiba continued, I'm sure with my balance breaker and your power I feel like we can overcome any crisis. Fufu, I wasn't one to say such things before, but after the Saiken incident my feelings of camaraderie have evolved. As men we have to look out for each other. I don't why, but I don't dislike this feeling, this hot feeling around my chest region. Naruto was honestly bamboozled. He pinched the bridge of his nose. That's sorta disgusting, Kiba. For my sake and yours I don't think you should go near or touch me. No way, Naruto-kun. Kiba gasped at him teary-eyed. It was entertaining to watch Naruto's and Kiba's interaction. Sadly, Rias still had a club and meeting to run. We are unable to contact the governor, Azazel, at this time. Azazel has always been like that, Rias. A voice spoke, but it belonged to no one in the room. A crimson-haired male was smiling pleasantly from the voice's origin. Surprised, Rias stood up. Oh, Onisama. Azazel won't do anything like Gabriel did a few days ago. He may perform a prank like last time, although he came earlier than planned. His eyes landed on Gabriel. Oh, I hadn't expected to meet the strongest woman in heaven, Gabriel. The eyes of everyone sans Naruto widened in surprise, but none more than Rainier, Calawarner, Zenobia and Asia. The two former nuns promptly bowed in front of the seraph. Relax everyone, Gabriel soothed. Ravel noticed how calmly Naruto reacted to Gabriel. She remembered the seraph's words, especially the part about her home stay with a classmate. Ravel sent Naruto a glare that conveyed, you better explain. Naruto plainly scratched his chin. Rias asked doubtfully, Onisama, why are you here? The Lucifer handed her an unfilled printed form. Graphia informed me about the upcoming classroom visit, and I'm thinking about participating. By all means, I want my precious little sister working hard in her studies up close. You know Mao duties are hard. This is the perfect opportunity for your Nini to ditch his duties. Don't worry, Milikas and his mother will come along too. But Oni-sama is the Mao, to leave your job and visit the school. The Mao can't hold one single in special regard, Rias reasoned. No, don't misunderstand Rias, Sirzex chided lightly, this is my work as well. Actually, I thought about holding the conference amongst the three factions here at Kuo, so this gives me the perfect reason to scope out the place. The school somehow seems to be tied in with fate. My little sister, the legendary Security, the Holy Devil Sword user, the Holy Sword Durandal's user, the Seraph Gabriel and Malleviathan's Imoudo are attached to this place. Then you have Kokobile and the Hakuryuko who attack this place. Strong powers keep mixing in like a veritable maelstrom. Now then, let's continue the difficult conversation somewhere else. However, even though I came to the human world, it's night time. Would a lodging institution be open right now? Speaking up for the first time, Itsuko, already housed the Mao Lucifer's sister along with Asia, raised her hand. Ah, if that's the case then. Naorn's Gi Itsuko couldn't restrain the tears as it freely flowed. The sight before her was heaven. Her life up until this point was for naught. The pool. They were at the pool. The only people there were Itsuko, Rias and the rest of Rias Peerage sans Kiba who had work. Hey, Itsu, how does my swimsuit look?
Phew, blood was spilling vigorously from her nose. Bucku's white skin. She could never get enough of that tantalizing white skin.
Those opie. Not forgetting to mention those captivating legs as well.
Era. Bucho, you sure are fired up. You fufu, you really wanted to show it to Itsu-chan. By the way Itsu-chan, how does mine look?
With that Akeno-san enters as well. Clashing with Buckow's purple Mizugi, Akeno chose to wear a black one. Itsu-chan, I came after changing as well. Turning around, Itsuko saw a fidgeting Asia. She was wearing the normal school Mizugi with her name written across her chest. Asia, you're looking cute. Your Oni-san is deeply moved, it suits you well. In a good mood, Asia lets out a happy smile. Calawarner, why are we subjugated to this? Asked Rainier, clad in an extremely mature red Mizugi with black trimmings. It's certainly better than the alternative at the time, answered the woman in question, who wore a risque sky blue Mizugi. It was times like these Itsuko was glad she was a girl, because if she were a boy then she would definitely be slouching at this point. Fuko Datbeo, complained a familiar voice, why must you drag me out here, Revel-san?
HMPH, you should feel indebted to me for dragging you out of that internet cafe.
Another voice agreed, Naruto-san, it's not good to spend all your time holed up like that. And another voice commented, I've never been to the pool before. Walking through the gate, Revel dragged Naruto by the hand as Yubaluna and Gabriel followed a few steps behind. Despite wearing only a simple one piece, Yubaluna still managed to show all her curves. Then there was Revel. The Mizugi did her figure justice. Wearing the uniform, the clothes restrained her opie, casting the illusion that they were smaller than they appeared to be. While they weren't as large as Akeno or Rias, but they still were big. The daughter of Phoenix wore a blue Mizugi with a cover-up and frills. By now Itsuko managed to stem the flow of blood before it was released like a bursting dam when she saw Gabriel. The angel wore a white, pure bikini set with black highlights. The white coloring bequeathed a sense of purity, yet the black contrasted that, providing a sexy, clashing vibe. Itsuko raised an eyebrow at the spiky, gray-haired youth who wore simple orange trunks and had on his black sleep mask. But what caught her interest the most was the scar on his abdominal below the scar on near his heart inflicted by Kokobeel's spear. Ever since his reincarnation, Itsuko had been intrigued by Naruto. There was something about him. But wait, where was Kaneko? For the first time, Itsuko noticed her white-haired Kohai standing quietly behind Asia. Ooh, Kaneko-chan is wearing the school swimsuit like Asia, huh? The name card, Kaneko, is cute and wonderful as well. Yeah, it's the birth of the lovely mascots. While Itsuko was helping Kaneko and then Asia with learning how to swim, and everyone else was splashing and having fun in the water or enjoying the sun's ray. And Naruto, he just covered his eyes with his sleep mask and slept in the shade like he usually did during class. Go on, Revel-sama, egged on Yubaluna as she handed a bottle of sunscreen lotion to her king. I'm speechless really, mused Naruto as he held the lotion bottle in his hand as Revel and Yubaluna. Revel couldn't ask Naruto to do this by herself. Lie in front of him with their top straps untied. Devils won't get sunburned, but sunlight is still a foreign enemy, Yubaluna explained. Hiya, my bad, was it cold? It's fine, rasped the bomb queen, just hurry up and finish. Hiya, Naruto's sweat dropped, are you two alright? Yubaluna. Hi, Revel-sama, Naruto-san has god-like fingers, he's like wolf. A soft, elastic feeling stuck to Naruto's back. Era, after witnessing your skills, Naruto-san, I'm interested in experiencing it firsthand. Akino's face appeared over Naruto's shoulder. Inside the pool equipment room, Naruto released a sigh of relief. Himejima-senpai had started a domino effect or chain reaction. Soon enough, Rainier and Calawarner wanted him to apply sunscreen lotion to their backs. Then Rias wanted a part of it. When Gabriel asked him, Naruto was about ready to call quits. Thankfully, she was the last one. Itsuko, exhausted, was sleeping nearby with the former nun, Asia, head in her lap. The blonde girl was pumped up beyond expectation, so Asia completed the course multiple times with Itsuko helping her. Pool exercises required more energy than ground exercises. For Asia, who wasn't accustomed to physical exertion, it must have been exhausting. For Itsuko, she had to help Kaneko learn how to swim and Asia right after, so it's no wonder she's tired. Speaking of Kaneko, the girl was resting by the poolside underneath the shadows reading a book. Shoulders slumped and eyes closed, Naruto chanted the mantra, a clear mind, a silent and serene heart. A clear mind, a silent and serene heart. Earlier Naruto felt his self-restraint slowly slipping. What? Who can blame Naruto, who was just a young male with a healthy interest in the females? Ever since Gabriel moved into his home, Naruto hadn't fapped at all.
It was certainly a good thing he could store items inside his inventory, as it saved him the trouble of having to explain the material to a pure Gabriel if she mistakenly found his hentai. Hey, he didn't want to be the one who caused the seraph to fall, that would suck. Then he'd have God on his ass for corrupting his sister.
Naruto took a deep calming breath. He noticed another presence besides him in the equipment room. Oh my, Naruto-san, what happened? I heard weird noises from outside, inquired Xenovia. Nothing you should really worry about, Xenovia, Naruto dryly snipped. What are you doing in here, Xenovia-san? Yeah, it's my first swimsuit, so it took me some time to put it on. Does it suit me? It suits you, Xenovia-san. It was a bikini that emphasized the body's curves. You say it's the first time you've worn a swimsuit, you say? It is because of church rule prescribing such clothing? Well, that's right. Though before saying that, I, myself don't have an interest in stuff like this. Through the girls learning around me, the female soldiers, let out their dissatisfaction at not being able to touch things like that. Naruto could see that. The blue-haired girl exuded an aura that spoke, fighting is my nature. Even if it's just a little bit, I want to experience the entertainment befitting girls. That's how I feel. That's what I have started feeling recently. The holder of Durandal spoke coolly. Naruto-san, there is something I want to talk about. Go ahead, Naruto replied with a yawn. Then, will you give me a child, Naruto-san? He choked on dry air. What? What? Did he hear her right? Xenovia inclines her head and says, didn't you hear it right? All right. Naruto-san, let's make children together. Please wait a moment. There are technical difficulties. Once Naruto's brain rebooted, he blinked. I must have more stress than I originally thought, because I just imagined Xenovia saying she wanted to bear my child. You weren't. A voice softly whispers in his ear. The voice went on. While serving God, I had thrown away a part of me, a woman's happiness. My body, my heart, everything, I sealed everything away for the sake of faith. But now I have a new objective, a new dream to bear children. He hadn't noticed before, but now he has. The fact Xenovia was clinging to his body. Her body was remarkably soft. Especially, her breasts, not forgetting the fact he directly felt her areola when she had removed her top some time ago. He picked up the exorbitant, fruity smell of her hair. Naruto's soldier was perking up. Damned hormones. Well, he droned. Why me? Why you? Something makes me think Kiba wouldn't be interested in the slightest. More than making children, I want them to be strong kids. A special power in the father's genes, or otherwise I want greater strength. You're most suited for this endeavor. I hadn't amounted you to much the first time I saw you, but I realized that there must be something else, something hidden since you've attracted the attention of Gabriel. Unfortunately, I have little to no experience with men. I plan on memorizing it from now on, but for now I'll just let Naruto-san lead. It was getting really difficult for Naruto to restrain himself. All of a sudden the equipment door's room opened with a click. Naruto, no servant, what is the meaning of this? Ravel demanded with a forced smile on her face, her body fully rejuvenated. That regenerative ability sure was useful. A thin red aura enveloped her frame. Behind her stood everyone else, looking on eagerly as the scene unraveled. Let's make children together, Naruto, after hearing that, the color on Ravel's face drained. Servant, I'll turn you into cinders, Fuko Datbeo. Nowrnnsgi, oh my, Naruto, this is quite the interesting ability you have, Gabriel said, amazed. She had seen many a sacred gear in her days, but none were quite like Naruto's. His, gamer, had many fascinating aspects. They were in a dungeon of sorts regularly seen in RPGs. It had been created by Naruto's instant dungeon create. It was a vast expanse of barren earth filled with mindless, wandering zombies. Naruto had decided that he should introduce Gabriel to his eccentric ability before showing it to the Occult Research Club. The reason being that the Seraph was more than capable of handling any dangers which may be lurking within what the Naruto had dubbed Abyss. This should work since it's a game ability, Naruto wondered aloud. Okay, Gabriel-san, I'm about to create the party. Party create. Ping, you have create a party. Would you like to name your party? Test party. Would you like test party to be your party name? Yes, no. He affirmed the party name. Now to send the party invite to Gabriel-san, he muttered underneath his breath. Ding, a blue pop-up box magically appeared in front of Gabriel's face. It lit up in surprise. Okay. Gabriel-san, when I say so, I want you to kill a zombie for me. When the Seraph nodded her head eagerly, Naruto brought up the options for the party and played with the menu until he found what he wanted. He tapped on equal distribution. Equal distribution is not possible if your level difference is above 10. Naruto simply shrugged his shoulders apathetically. He drawled, Gabriel-san, if you don't mind, would you kill a zombie for me? On his call, Gabriel created and hurled a light spear at a nearby zombie, instantly killing it due to the creature's inherent weakness to light. Naruto observed as he gained a fraction of the experience from the kill. Now for the next part of his experiment, Naruto crossed his fingers in front of him. It was another technique he witnessed within his recent, strange dreams. Tapping into his chakra reserves, Naruto performed his move. Kage Bushin no Jutsu. In front of the two, poofed a cloud of smoke before it dispersed to reveal an exact clone of Naruto. From beside, Gabriel gasped in amazement. She knew of spells which created illusionary copies of the user, but from what Gabriel was seeing, these clones had corporeal bodies. Boy, creating that clone taxed his reserves heavily. It drained about half of his reserves. Nodding, the clone shot off to the nearest zombie and engaged it in combat. This time Naruto received a half of the express, rubbing his hands deviously. Naruto created yet another clone who repeated the same action as the first. However, this time he only got back a fourth of the express. Naruto noticed a pattern, so he created a third clone. This time the experience gain was only an eighth. Whatever experiences the clones gained would return to Naruto, but the experience was distributed based on the number of the clone. Basically, the first clone would return a half of its experience gain. Clone number 2 would return a fourth of the experience. A third clone gave an eighth. Then so on and so forth, every subsequent clone returned a half of the previous one.
It was a counter to clone spamming. The zombies were entry-level cannon fodder, and Naruto knew that. He also knew that with subsequent harder dungeons meant higher and more challenging mobs. At the moment his fists were ideal, but he would need to somehow acquire a crafting skill to create armor and weaponry. Or he needed a way to reinforce his blows along with a motley of skills accommodate it.
At the moment, he had more important issues, such as his stupid mission. He was working on that sorta kinda. Then there were the upcoming school visits. The occult research club would most likely inquire where his parents were when they didn't show up. It was complicated. With a long sigh, Naruto evicted the dungeon along with Gabriel. Before Naruto slept, he pulled up his status window and allocated his skill points. The automatic doors behind Naruto slid close, with a silent hiss, as the gray-haired teen exited the store with his purchase in hand, a simple sheathed hunting knife. The knife had a nice, polished wooden lacquered handle, a snug fit for his hand. Curvatures on the handle conformed to the ridges of the hand. The 9-inch blade, of tempered carbon steel, featured a significant U-shaped curved guard below the blade. The straight back of the blade gently sloped at the tip before curving outwards and inwards in a wave-like shape, completing the trip. Naruto found it imprudent not to invest in buying and learning one due to recent events. Drawing the handle from its sheath, Naruto held knife angled forward with his fingers wrapped around the hilt and his thumb on top, a classic hammer grip, at an arm's length. While it was the traditional grip, it felt too awkward for Naruto. It was too far away from his body, leaving the appendage vulnerable to being injured or caught. In addition, the distance meant less force could be applied overall, and it irritated his wrist. He, then, tried various other grips and positions, all of them feeling uncomfortable, needlessly straining his hand and wrist. An epiphany: the guard wasn't really a good at all. It was a rest for his index finger. Once he had figured that out, Naruto placed his thumb on the back of the blade. The small change made all the difference for Naruto. Lunging forward with his left leg, his leading leg, Naruto slashed at an imaginary opponent diagonally. Then yanking his hand back, Naruto briskly stabbed. The movements flowed smoothly, as if he had repeatedly practiced and executed the movements 10,000 if not hundreds of thousands of times. Though hackneyed, Naruto would describe the sensation as the knife being an extension of himself. Ping Knife Mastery, Passive, LVL. 1 increases the user's proficiency with a knife.
10% increase in attack damage. 6% increase in attack speed.
He cased the knife in its leather sheath, and stored his latest purchase in his inventory. Massaging his left shoulder and cracking his neck, Naruto ventured home to his quaint, little clearing in the woods. Then he remembered tomorrow was class visits where parents would observe their child or children in a learning environment.
The situation is as a certain black-haired, spiky ponytailed guy would often say in complaint.
Troublesome. NOWRNNSGI. The teacher's sweat dropped. The student's sweat dropped. The parent's sweat dropped. Ravel's eyes twitched. Ubaluna, who was here representing Ravel's busy parents and older siblings, giggled lightly behind her hand. As for Gabriel, the upbeat, bright seraph acted like normal.
And then there was Naruto. Without a care in the world, he soundly slept. His black sleep mask covered his eyes, and his head rested on a pillow, his arms crossed under the pillow to provide support, which the teen brought along. Soft snoring reverberated though muffled. A tick mark grew on the teacher's forehead as he unconsciously broke the chalk in his hand with his vice-like grip. Priming his arm back,
The teacher threw the broken piece of chalk, it spun wildly in its arc through the air, and true to his aim the chalk impacted Naruto's cranium. The teacher's effort was for naught as Naruto dozed on. Gabriel, who decided to extend the teacher a helping hand, gently shook Naruto's shoulder with one hand. Apparently, that was enough to wake the dull gray-haired youth. His blue-magenta heterochromatic eyes blinked wearily. Now that I've gotten your attention, Naruto-san, answer the question on the board, the teacher said. Naruto's eyes lazily scanned the complex equation on the board and worked over the question in his mind and on his scratch paper. The answer for the expression is y squared plus 3xy plus x cubed plus 147, he answered plainly. Once he answered the question, Naruto's head dropped languidly. The teacher could only sigh at his student's slothful idiosyncrasies, not that he could really complain.
Naruto was in the top 10 for the entire second years, specifically he was ranked 9th. Whereas, Ravel, who sat next to him, unsurprisingly held the highest rank, 1st. As expected of the blonde Ojo-sama. Then he had Gabriel, the latest addition to the class, who quickly proved her intellect by placing second just a point behind Ravel. The teacher knew it was unprofessional of him to, but he cursed that gray-haired sloth. The lucky bastard sat next to 2, not 1 but 2, Bashojos. Blonde Bashojos. In his day, he would die for that kind of luck.
Ravel's eyes twitched, erratically, at Gabriel before the blonde phoenix looked away in a huff. Ravel wanted to be the one who woke up Naruto, her first friend, and the blonde angel snatched it away. She wasn't jealous in the slightest. As Naruto's king, her concern was wholly about the ramifications of Gabriel's actions. The angel solely approached and befriended Naruto to pry crucial information from him. Nope. Ravel wasn't jealous at all. Don't get her wrong, she wasn't jealous no matter what anyone else says.
From the back, Yubeluna heartedly giggled at her king's cute, flustered actions. Ravel was totally jealous. Naurn's G.I. It was lunch break. Having decided that the boisterous, filled up to the brim classroom intruded on his precious sleep, Naruto trudged lethargically through the lively halls with a certain seraph by his side.
One might wonder where Ravel headed off to. Well, she was still in the classroom. No, it wasn't that Naruto ditched her or anything. Her parents had called her, and the heiress became preoccupied. She told them to go without her.
Class visits were special here at Kuo, so the students received an extra long lunch break to enjoy with their parents, meaning Naruto had a good hour and a half to waste. Occasionally, he would have gone up to the roofs, which were empty most of the time, but with all the parents at the school it quickly became a scenic picnic spot for families to eat lunch because of Kuo's famous roof garden.
Left without a sleeping spot, he wandered about. Maybe he would go to a cafe and order a cup of coffee. How he loved his coffee, which rivaled his desire of ramen. Naruto had to wonder, why is it so hard for me to have some peace and quiet? Even though I've only been a devil for less than a month, I feel like I've experienced a lifetime of tribulations.
Without precedence and from around the corner, a pink rocket. Unsure of the fact, but it was pink. A pink blur then. A pink blur appeared at the end of the corner heading straight at Naruto. Although, instead of colliding with him, the blur hid behind his legs. "Nei-san, please stop running. You're causing trouble." A girl who Naruto recognized as Sona Citri, the Seto-kaicho otherwise known as the Student Council President, rounded the corner. While her posture was strict and straight, Naruto saw the tired and annoyed slump of her shoulders.
The black-haired girl with her hair tied into 2 twin tails blew a childish raspberry at Sona. Her childish actions also had the effect of spraying the ice cream on her lips, and the ice cream from the cone in her hand dripped onto the floor. "Sona no baka. I came here to visit you, and you ignored me, you meanie." Naruto pinched the bridge of his nose, sighing exasperated. Fuko, tt ibeo. Having an estranged sibling himself, Naruto knew how to deal with the petulance of a stubborn sibling. So before it degenerated any further, Naruto, smoothly, spun on his heels and picked up the girl by the waist. "Hey, what's the big idea?" the colorfully themed cosplaying girl cried indignantly. Meanwhile, Sona stared back flabbergasted by how this dull-looking youth handled her sister. She felt his energy signature, so she knew he was a devil. Did he not know who her sister was, or did he just not care? In any case, Sona was grateful for his arbitration. Now you shouldn't antagonize your sister like so." Naruto gently patted her head with his free hand. "If you behave, I'll buy you some ice cream. Does that sound good?" Seraphal, still slightly irked, found the idea of more ice cream appeasing, so she could forgive the teen's transgressions for the moment. That was only if she got a triple scoop with strawberry, very berry strawberry and strawberry cheesecake. Thankfully, she didn't notice Gabriel by Naruto's side, or things would have really gotten troublesome for him. Poor Naruto. If there was anything he could have gleaned from his life experiences, trouble followed him wherever he goes.
Seraphal's eyes gleamed a bright yellow as she marveled at the frozen delicacy carefully cradled in her hands. She drooled rivers from her mouth. Naruto chuckled at the childish girl as he handed a double vanilla scoop to Gabriel, who had yet to experience ice cream until he rectified that universal wrong. Although Naruto was a devil, he had the physical anatomy of a normal human, ergo he only had 2 arms and hands to carry the ice cream. With that in mind, he went to buy a cone for himself from the vendor in the park across them in front of the fountain.
Odo-san. A voice yelled excitedly before a yellow blur tackled him to the ground. Naruto, subconsciously, cushioned the fall with his body.
Naruto propped himself on his elbows to obtain a closer look at his attacker. Odo-san, 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 the child repeated in a mantra, rubbing her head, side to side, into his chest. He saw a small child, hugging his waist. It wasn't every day Naruto got tackled by a child with her golden blonde hair tied in a ponytail, wearing an elaborate Miko outfit, and a white tabi and wooden sandals combo. Expanding on the Miko outfit, she had a large red starred pentagon on each sleeve, and between the gap of each vertex were identical, smaller red stars. Oh yeah, she had small golden fox ears jutting out from her head and 9 tails from her tailbone. Those swaying 9 tails sparked a distant and fuzzy image of a giant 9-tailed fox, whose size easily towered over Naruto's form, with a distinctly humanoid torso, claws and hands. The kitsune had red-orange fur. The black discoloration around its red, slitted eyes extended to its pointed ears. Black lips pulled back in a foxy grin, how ironic, revealed a set of deadly fangs.
Kurama. The name of the Kyuubi was Kurama. How Naruto knew that perplexed him greatly. You are not the monster kitsune anymore. You are one of my nakama, my friends.
Odo-san, the child called for him, snapping Naruto out of his dream-like state. She peered into his heterochromatic eyes with her sparkling ones, which matched the color of her hair.
He cursed, mentally of course, Fuko Datbeo. Now Naruto, how will you handle this? Sorry to disappoint you, but I'm not your Odo-san. I'm too young to have had a child.
But you look like what I imagined my Odo-san to be. You smell like Odo-san and you're warm like Odo-san. The satin drooping of her vulpine ears tugged at the cord of his heart. He felt like a jerk, but it was better than leading her on. The child's fox ears perked. Then Odo-san just has to marry Okawa-san, and then Odo-san will be Kuno's Odo-san.
Naruto pinched the bridge of his nose. What, Kuno-chan? Her tails waved blithely. Where's your Okawa-san? Kuno needn't answer Naruto's question. Kuno-chan. Kuno-chan. Where has that child run off to? Said child sprung up from his lap and launched herself at who Naruto reckoned was her mother. Her mother also had golden blonde hair and a set of matching golden eyes. Garbed in a traditional shrine maiden area, the daughter duo couple were attention-grabbing to say the least. Like her daughter, on top of the mother's head sat 2 fox ears and 9 golden tails waved behind her with minds of their own. Usually if anyone saw a person with fox ears and tails there would be a commotion about. Since Naruto heard not even a hushed comment, then the mother must be using a high-level illusion to conceal the eye-catching additions. Kuno-chan, don't worry your mother like that, the blonde-haired woman lightly admonished her disobedient child. Now tell Okawa-san why you ran off like that.
Kuno, instead of answering her mother directly, ran to Naruto, now standing, and hugged his leg. It's Odo-san.
This surprised Yusaka. Never before had her daughter run up to a random man and suddenly call him her father. She didn't know how much patience the teen had, so it would be better if she corrected her daughter before he got mad. Naruto chuckled. Kuno-chan seems dead set on calling me Odo-san, and I don't see the harm in it. He yawned, stretching out his faint whisker marks. Kuno-chan, how does Odo-san buying you ice cream sound? Naruto smiled in amusement at the bright gleam in Kuno's eyes and the excited waggling of her ears and tails. With Kuno properly secured on his back, Naruto ambled up to the ice cream vendor. He waited as Kuno went through all the options on the menu board before picking out a plain chocolate fudge single scoop. Higher, higher, Kuno shouted jubilantly on the swing, and Naruto obliged to his pseudo-daughter's cries. The scene of Naruto playing with her daughter brought a small, happy smile to Yusaka. This was the happiness that a father brought. A happiness she could have never provided for her daughter. Her hand searched for her necklace and she grasped it, remembering her own father. She couldn't deny the fact that Naruto would have been a great father for Kuno based on his interactions with Kuno despite his apparent lazy streak. From besides her, Gabriel watched the scene vacantly. From early on, Gabriel watched the beings known as humans. She watched as they were born, as they matured into adulthood, experiencing happiness, anger, grief and love. She watched as they fell in love and created families. Ages ago Gabriel played with the idea of finding love, but her duties as Seraph in the Great War kept her busy. That and her special one evaded her. And she didn't know what love was. However, with the upcoming 3 factions meeting and potential peace, then maybe just maybe she might be able to find love. She was hit by a strange notion, but she quickly shook her head, banishing the stray thought.
Then besides Gabriel, Seraphal glared childishly at her biggest rival. Why the Mao considered the Seraph as her biggest rival was a story for another day. Regardless, Seraphal wouldn't lose in this latest challenge, whatever this was. Time sure flies, doesn't it? Naruto simply thought. Apparently, lunch break ended over 30 minutes ago, but Naruto was in no rush. He had physical education marked for this period, and he cared little for that subject in favor of more nap time. Although, all things had to come to an end when the time for the period after, literature, encroached.
Okay, Kuno-chan. Odo-san has to go back to work or his boss will get mad, Naruto explained to the downcast girl, but if you're a good girl then Odo-san will play with you again. That brought up her mood. Naruto, eyes half-lidded as if he were going to drop asleep, waved goodbye to Yusaka and Kuno with Seraphal and Gabriel beside him mimicking his action. Before Naruto turned to leave, Kuno's mind concocted an igneous, infallible plan to set up her Okawa-san and Odo-san. Running behind Yusaka, Kuno pushed her mother with all the might her tiny body could muster. Not suspecting the unexpectedness of her daughter, Yusaka, propelled forward, stumbled toward Naruto on an imminent course of collision. Now it was as simple for Naruto to step aside and let the woman fall flat on her face, but he wouldn't do that. Instead, he stood resolute and braced himself for impact. Choose. 1. Have Yusaka crash into you with you on top. 2. Have Yusaka crash into you with her on top. Sexual innuendo aside, the option was painfully obvious. As Yusaka plowed into him, Naruto cushioned her fall with his body. He groaned, propping himself on his elbows. Are you okay, Yusaka-san? When he didn't receive a response, Naruto prompted once more, Yusaka-san. Yusaka, whose face was planted into his chest, instinctively inhaled Naruto's scent. It was strangely familiar and comforting, almost like her own father's, which baffled her as her father died centuries ago and this youth in front of her was clearly a reincarnated devil and not her father. Regardless, the scent brought back warm memories of when she, as a child, often slept curled on her father's chest when she had trouble sleeping alone. Entranced by the archaic memories of past, Yusaka subconsciously wrapped her arms around Naruto's waist and snuggled her head so it rested on the crux of his collarbone. It also didn't help how warm Naruto's body was, once again, just like her father's. Kuno smiled as she watched her parents' interaction, and exclaimed victoriously inside her mind. Her plan, so far, was working effectively. Gabriel, for a lack of words, felt conflicted. A strange feeling festered in her heart, one she had never experienced as of yet, but she brushed it aside dismissively. Although, Gabriel swore she would brush up on this later. At the sudden turn of events, Naruto settled on breaking Yusaka out of her trance. Yusaka-san. He nudged her. Yusaka-san. He nudged with more force than last time. Yusaka-san. Forgive me, Yusaka apologized when she realized her behavior. She, flustered, bowed to Naruto, then pointing her eyes at Kuno. Kuno is also sorry. Laughing wryly, don't worry about it, Yusaka-san. Naruto was too lazy to get angry about something insignificant as this. Kuno-chan, want to tell Odo-san why you pushed Okawa-san? Glancing between Naruto and Yusaka, it's because Kuno hears strange noises from Okawa-san's room. Okawa-san sounds like she's in pain, and she yells about wanting a man to touch her. Kuno thought if Kuno pushed Okawa-san and she landed on Oto-san with a kiss, then they will marry. And then Oto-san will spend more time with Kuno. Laughing weakling, Yusaka grabbed Kuno's hand and spoke in a hurried tone, well, come along now, Kuno. They then disappeared in the bright flash of a transportation magic circle. Naruto sighed, once again, in resignation. He remembered he still had classes. Life was. NOWRNNSGI. Naruto nodded his nod with a blank face, replaying Rias Buckow's words over in his mind. Appearance-wise, this kid looks like a girl, but without doubt he is a boy. In his mind, Naruto fell down to his knees and pounded the earth as he lamented the cruel hand he had been dealt by the bastard known as fate. Rias cleared her throat. There's more. What else could there be? To say the least, Gasper's situation is unique. Yes, as of right now Gasper is a boy, but that is not his true gender. He has a rare, unprecedented illness that causes Gasper to switch genders at random times. Gasper, 1 minute, will be a boy and 2 minutes later he will be a she. There is no way to predict Gasper's changes. It's completely random. In the corner, Itsuko crouched with her head in her hands. She didn't know how to handle this. Finding out the blonde Bishojo was a Bishonen only to learn that the blonde was a Bishojoen. It was irrational. How can someone be this cute yet so confusing? Was God merciless? Wait, since God wasn't present it was merciless. BBB by the way who are these people? Gasper pointed a shaky finger at the newest additions. Ubaluna, Xenovia, Itsuko, Asia, Rainier, Calawarner, Gabriel, Ravel and, certainly but not least, Naruto.
Gesturing to her peerage, she introduced them. These are new servants who have been resurrected since your seclusion. The pawn, Hyodo Itsuko, the knight, Xenovia, the rook, Rainier, a prisoner of war, Calawarner, and Asia Argento, who just like you as a bishop.
Then giving birth for Ravel. Nice to meet you Gasper-san. I am Ravel Phoenix, daughter of the Phoenix household as you may have guessed. Beside me is my queen, formerly my brother's, Ubaluna, the bomb queen. The slouching and half-lidded gray-haired teen next to me is my first servant in pawn, Naruto. The blonde girl next to Naruto is Gabriel the seraph.
Eck, an angel. What's an angel doing here? Rubbing her forehead, Rias explained, Gabriel is here on behalf of the church to scope out the school as a potential site for the three factions meeting. And please can we go out now? It's all right for you not to be sealed anymore you know. No, for me the outside world is impossible. I am scared of the outside. In any case, even if I go outside it would only cause trouble for other SSSSSSSS. The sudden influx of people, not just one or two but 9, frightened the already frazzled boy. Unexpectedly add into the presence of a high-ranking angel and the idea of going out his stronghold overloaded Gasper's nerves.
So when Itsuko, peeved, tried to grab the boy's arm, hey, bucko said to go outside.
Eek, the scenery in front of Naruto drained white.
Right, bucko mentioned something about Gasper's sacred gear, forbidden valor view, Naruto dryly mused. Only Gabriel and he were virtually unaffected. Must be the thin and palpable, to him, glowing aura radiating from Gabriel and his proximity to her which deflected the time-freezing ability.
Naruto, lazy-eyed, simply watched the boy retreat to a corner and shiver, fearfully, in it as the timer of his sacred gear dwindled down to 0. Everyone became freed of the chrono shackles.
That marked Naruto's first and certainly not last experience with his troublesome Kohai. Gasper, please come out. It's my fault for pushing you into going along with Naruto. Bucko apologized to the boy-turned-girl in front of her room. I thought working with the lackadaisical Naruto would be best to slowly readjust you.
FFFFFFUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUUU
Gasper was scared of people. She had no control over her sacred gear and created trouble for people. It only worsened her complex, a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy. Gasper's father was of nobility, however, her mother was a normal human, so Gasper wasn't pure-blooded. The scorn of half-bloods in vampiric culture made its devil counterpart look like sunshine and rainbows, meaning it was deep-rooted and incorrigible. Not even Gasper's own blood siblings provide solace for the poor child. She was bullied by them, her siblings, since childhood. Compounded with Gasper's apparent gender confusion, Naruto could see how the Dampier wasn't a people person per se. Even in the human world she was treated as a monster. She had no home. As she grew older, her powers grew in magnitude. If she wanted to make friends, she risked her sacred gear freezing the other person.
Watch out, it's that. I told you not to talk to it. Why don't you just go away, you monster? Monster. It's almost unbearable, isn't it? The feeling of being all alone.
I didn't need such a sacred gear. B, because I stop everyone, I scare them. I make them dislike me. I don't want to stop my friends and see comrades. Any more of having to look at the faces of my cherished ones frozen. I don't want that. Gasper sobbed from inside her room. I had just gotten her to leave and now she has locked herself back into her room.
Seeing the depressed slump of Ria's shoulders, Naruto gently laid his hand on her shoulder. When she looked at him questioningly, Naruto smiled softly and whispered, "You should go rest. Bucho, you have a meeting with Sirzex-sama and the others in a short while. Please leave Gasper to me."
Nodding with a small smile, "Thank you, Naruto-san. I will leave Gasper to you."
Rias turned and left. Wearily rubbing the back of his neck, Naruto slid down so his back leaned against the door. There was a boy. The boy grew up alone and hated and feared for harboring something akin to a sacred gear, a power of inconceivable destruction and malevolence. Because of his power, he was treated as a monster. Yet, all he yearned for was for anyone to recognize his existence. So did the boy find, a soft voice spoke. He did. Through his efforts and determination he found people, precious people. To the boy it was something to fight for, something he would gladly lay down his life. Gasper, it's unbearable, isn't it? The feeling of being all alone in that dark and lonely place. That's why, Gasper, With a dull thud, the door opened up slightly. Gasper's profile appeared from behind the door. As a boy, Gasper looked androgynous, but as a female it was clearly discernible as to which gender she belonged to.
Her face was soft and gentle with alluring pale lips. Instead of her hair ending in a short bob cut, Gasper's platinum hair grew a little past her shoulders and ended in soft spikes. From what he could see with his limited view, Gasper's body was the same, but he thought he saw small bulges around the chest area. She was earnestly holding back tears. To sum it up, Gasper's appearance could be simply described as a delicate elf. Do you mean that, senpai? Naruto replied non-verbally with a soft smile. A soft smile but sagely smile. One unbefitting of a youth such as Naruto. It was a smile that drew Gasper in. A warm smile that she couldn't help to trust it. To trust the smile of her senpai.
Naruto's G.I. The soft breeze picked up dry leaves and swept through his gray hair as Naruto ambled up the stone stairs leading to the top. Hands in his pockets and looking down, Naruto took slow deliberate steps as he was in no hurry. Gabriel followed, matching his pace, a few steps behind. The same morning earlier Naruto had received a text from God, telling him to go to the nearest shrine. There were directions, but Naruto discarded them without a second thought. After all, there was only one shrine he knew of.
A long shadow was cast on him from the top. Welcome, Naruto-san. Against Akino's beatific smile, Naruto replied with a lazy grin. Hello, Hamejima-senpai. Come along now, Naruto-san. Gabriel-sama, there's a guest waiting for you. Akino wore a shrine maiden outfit. It fitted her nicely, synergizing well with her Yamato Nadeshiko image. There was an agreement for the devils to tread on the holy ground, so they passed through the arch without harm. In front of them was a splendid shrine. Hamejima-senpai, by any change do you live here? Questioned Naruto lamely. Akino nodded in earnest. Yes, the priest of the last generation passed away. Rias secured this shrine, which had no people remaining, for me.
Naruto was aware of the presence of another entity when a blur zoomed past him and latched onto the hips of Gabriel, shouting rambunctiously, Oni-san. The man, clinging to Gabriel, wore radiant white robes. He had spiky blonde hair and a handsome, kind face. 12 golden wings were draped limplessly at his sides. Gabriel smiled brightly as she rubbed the man's head soothingly. It's nice to see you, Mike-san. Oni-san, there's so much paperwork. Just so much paperwork. I can't manage it alone by myself. The proclaimed, Mike-san, lamented with comical tears streaming down his face and separating into two rivulets. Naruto, with his face resting in his palm and covering his eyes, sighed. Akino hid her face behind her shrine maiden sleeve and lightly giggled. Recovering from his lapse in control, Michael cleared his throat with a cough. I am Michael, the leader of heaven. 12 golden wings shot out from his back, and the younger brother of Gabriel. He sent a not-so-subtle glare at Naruto. Aha, you must be Naruto-san. He greeted with a warmly fake smile and held out his hand. Naruto put out his hand for Michael to grasp in a firm and bone-crushing handshake grip. Michael whispered, more like hissed, into his ear when Gabriel left with Akino to brew a pot of green tea. You do anything to hurt my Oni-chan. I will bring down the holy judgment of heaven. Seeing Akino and Gabriel returning, Michael slung his arm over Naruto's shoulder like they were good buddies and waved to the women. The dangerous glint in his green eyes were replaced with a jovial light. They relocated to the room with the tea. Naruto brought the cup of traditionally prepared tea up to his lips and inhaled the drink. Glancing around the room, he noted how it looked exactly like the tea ceremony room that the club of the same name had. He placed his cup on the table. With half-lidded, half-interested eyes, Naruto asked with great interest, so, for what do I owe the pleasure of meeting the renowned Archangel Michael, leader of heaven? Michael pondered the question for 3 seconds before opening his mouth. Why was I here again? He scratched his chin in thought. Snapping his fingers, here I felt like giving you this. Michael pulled out a sword pumping out a holy aura. It was a European-styled sword with a reddish-purple hilt and a golden hilt. This is the holy dragon-slaying sword, Ascalon used by Saint George.
Now I bet you were wondering why you are receiving this from me.
Well, with the upcoming 3 factions meeting, I believe there is an opportunity for peace. We lost our creator, God, and the devils lost the old Maos. Azazel has a firm stance against war. This is a chance to end our grudges. I sent presents to the fallen angels and have gotten holy demonic swords from the devils. When it came to gifting the devils, I was stumped. I remembered the Ascalon gathering dust in the storehouse, so I decided to give it to you. Don't worry, it has been enchanted so a devil may touch it without harm. Naruto scratched his head while taking the sword. Thanks. Although, I don't really know what I am going to do with this. Michael shrugged his shoulders. Not my problem. He spoke as white light enveloped his body. Got to go. Chow, chow. Michael disappeared in a blinding flash. That only left Naruto, Gabriel and Akuno present inside the room. Naruto took another sip of the tea. It was bitter.
Ping Quest alert Akano the Fallen bring up the topic of Akano being the daughter of one of the leaders of the Fallen Angels. Completion Award. 6500 Express open the route completion failure.
50 XP. Route is closed. Yes no. Now it made sense to Naruto. Akuno must despise her fallen blood, because he felt her cordiality with Rainier and Calawarner was only surface level. A mere facade. He sensed a small amount hostility or loather directed toward the fallen angel and hybrid, despite her best efforts to hide it.
Himejima Senpai, Naruto began casually, do you mind if I ask you a question?
She replied with a graceful smile, yes, of course. Are you the daughter of a fallen angel? Akuno instantly dropped her smile and adopted a somber mood. How did Naruto find out about her secret? She wanted to ask that, but it wasn't going to change a thing. Naruto knew, I was born as the progeny of the Grigori leader, Barakiel, and a human. Akuno's voice dripped with venom when she pronounced her father's name. Naruto sat in silence, absorbing Akuno's words. While formulating a response, Naruto was taken back as Akuno sprouted her wings. Her true wings, different from the set of devil wings Naruto was acclimated to. A smooth devil wing clashed against the black, feathery fallen wing. I must look disgusting to you Naruto-san, Akuno said, trailing a slender finger down her feathery wing. These are dirty wings, the wing of a devil and of a fallen angel. I possess both of them.
As if despising her wing, she vacantly grabbed it. While hating these feathers, Akano began plucking the black feather as her voice grew in hysteria. I met Rias and became a devil. But what was born with the feathers of a fallen angel and devil was a more revolting creature. The black-haired girl took a step back holding her face with the hand that had the black feathers. Foo. This may suit me who has dirtied blood flowing in her veins. She paused. You must hate me, right? I have the blood of a fallen angel. Although, I was reincarnated into a devil, the fact I have the blood of a fallen angel in me doesn't change. I may have approached you wanting to get hated. No. That's the definite case. I am the worst kind of woman. This is the kind of burden Himejima Senpai was shouldering. Gabriel opened her mouth red to step in, but Naruto held out his arm to stop her. Choose. A. Saw off your arm with a light spear. B. Tell her that you like her wings. In her self-induced derisive state, Akano, absent-minded, continually tore out feathers staining her hand and the floor with her blood. She stopped to look up when a warm liquid was splashed on her face. Don't fuck with me, Naruto gritted. Plunged into the shoulder of his right arm was Spear of Light. The spear hissed loudly in contact with Naruto's body. It tickled. Who was he kidding? It was painful, scratch that it was excruciating, debilitating. It was like having a lightning-encased fist speared through his chest cavity not once but twice. Don't fuck with me, Naruto repeated once more. He grunted as he slowly dragged the searing edge through his flesh and bone. Both, Akano and Gabriel, watched wide-eyed in shock. Hate? You? How can I hate you? It's too much effort, and too troublesome to hate you. Himejima Senpai, Naruto labored with each word. He chuckled grimly, you don't have to put up with this any longer Himejima Senpai. You think that you are vile, and are undeserving of a bond. I will carry half of your burden. If not, then at the very least, I will shoulder your tears. Naruto's steeled heterochromatic eyes pierced and froze Akano on spot. Tears threatened to spill from her eyes without restraint. She wanted to run away from her problem, naively hoping it would disappear. But deep inside, she really wanted someone to help her, someone she could depend on. Oh shit, did I make things worse? Naruto, worried, thought, seeing Akano cry. Akano lunged at him and wrapped her arms around his frame. She clung to him as she cried. Naruto slung an arm around her back and let the burdened girl cry, using him as her pillar. His clothes were stained with her tears, but that was a non-issue. It really was when Naruto still had the spear impaled in his shoulder. Could this feeling be? Thought Akano. She smiled and wiped away the tears. Akano wrapped her hand around the spear, stopping Naruto from mutilating himself any further. Due to her fallen angelic blood, it didn't hurt her. She pulled out the spear and was rewarded with a spurt of blood for her endeavor. Akano treated the wound with a surge of healing magic. While nowhere near the level of Asia's twilight healing, it stitched back the flesh at a sedate pace. Gabriel-sama, if I may request of you, there are bandages stored in the kitchen. Could you go get them as I tend to Naruto-san's wound?
Gabriel didn't know why, but she wasn't comfortable with leaving Naruto alone with Akuno. With her earlier display, who knew how stable Akuno's psyche was? Alas, Gabriel relented and went to retrieve the medical supplies. Once Gabriel left, Akuno latched herself onto Naruto, making sure to avoid hurting his right arm. Himehime-senpai. Naruto inquired lamely. He smelt the fruity aroma of her silky, lustrous hair which he accredited to her shampoo. And her soft bosom was firmly smushed against his chest.
She whispered into his ear, "You said some killing words. After hearing that, why don't I get serious?" "Troublesome," Naruto commented dryly. Naruto knew he was braving turbulent waters here. Killing words? "I have decided. Naruto-kun, do you like Revel?" He blinked. "She is a close friend that I hold in high regard." "Let's not go there," Naruto pleaded inside his head. "Troublesome, if this is remotely going where I think it is. Why is my fortune so shitty?"
Revel is a formidable opponent, that's for sure. Then there is the chance I will have to contend with Gabriel. Even if I don't get first, I'm happy with second or third. Himehime-senpai. The girl in question placed her index finger on his lip. "That's no good, Naruto-kun. You don't have to be so distant, you know. Call me Akuno."
"Are you sure, Himeji?" Akeno made a sour face. Naruto sighed. "Okay. Akeno-senpai." She glared at him. "Akeno-san."
That rose a beatific smile from her. This, Akuno, right now was different from the Akuno, who was the Fukubucho and the sadistic and masochistic queen. This, Akuno, was a cute and normal girl.
"I'm back," Gabriel announced from the door. Akeno took the first aid kit with a pout. Or at least tried to. Gabriel refused to give it up. "It's fine, Himejima-san. I can handle this," Gabriel said with a brightly innocent smile. I can't allow someone prestigious as Gabriel-sama to sully her hands with the dirty blood of a devil." Akeno shot back with her own smile. "No, I insist. And if it's Naruto-san then I don't mind," Gabriel retorted. Lightning sparked. Fuko Datbeo. NOWRNNSGI. The meeting was in full effect and a ways in.
Now then, it is time we hear the opinion of the people other than us, those who seem like they can influence the world. The invincible Dragon Sama. Firstly, Valley, what do you want to do to the world? Valley smiled at Azazel's question. "If I can fight strong people then I am satisfied."
Then Sakiryute, what about you? Azazel directed his question at Itsuko. Itsuko plainly scratched her chin. "To be honest, I don't have any gushing feelings gushing forth." Azazel quirked his eyebrow. "However, you are one of those who has the power to move the world. If you don't make your choice, then it would be difficult for those standing on top of each of the powers such as me to move," he explained. "Hyodo Itsuko, let me explain it in a way you can understand." Valley opened up. "If there is conflict, then you will need to step up and fight on the front stage. If that happens then you won't be able to indulge yourself in opai." Itsuko's face froze in revelation. "If we make peace then there will be no need to fight. You will be left with all the time in the world to suck on all the opai you want."
Itsuko's bangs shadowed her eyes and her body trembled. She shouted without shame, "Peace. I would like to have peace. Yes, peace is all right. Peace is the best. I want to suck on Baku's nipples and Kaniko's and Asia's and even Rainier. We aren't enemies anymore, so it should be fine, right? Oh, and Akuno too. I feel my blood boiling with anticipation." It was undeniable that one, Hyodo Itsuko, was eccentric to say the very least. Azazel smiled wryly, and his eyes scanned the standing devils. "I don't see 1H Naruto. Where is he?" Now that Azazel mentions it, where is he? Michael thought to himself. Revel was flustered. How would she respond? Fortunately, she didn't have to. Time froze. This came from Revel. Kaniko, Akeno, Asia and everyone else was surprised as well. Had they not been under the influence of Forbidden Balor View? So how was it they were able to move freely? Azazel along with the other leaders were puzzled as well. "How was the half-vampire kid's sacred gear dispelled?" remarked the fallen angel. "Be as it may, what happened Bucko?" asked a confused Itsuko. "It seems to be a terrorist attack," Azazel said, interrupting Rias. He gestured to the window. "Just look outside." The building shook. Humanoid figures clad in black robes slung blocks and orbs of condensed magic on the school barrier. Luckily, the barrier withheld the attacks, but the attackers weren't relenting in their efforts. It only spurred them on. The fallen angel gave a fearless smile. "Those guys are so-called magicians. From the power of the magic they are emitting, I'd guess that they each possess the magic power of a mid-class devil. Thanks to the power of Searsex, Michael, Gabriel and we can't leave the barrier.
and the time stopped from before most likely happened when the enemy used a sacred gear to transfer power to the vampire kid's sacred gear and force it into a balance breaker state. It was only a temporary balance breaker state. But, to think that the kid's potential was this high. To be able to freeze all but us guys at the top.
Can't we escape? Asked Itsuko. Azazel nodded his head sadly. That is impossible. As long as the barrier around the school is still active, we are prisoners. But, if the barrier is dissolved, then the human world may take damage. We will have to wait for the enemy boss to show his face. Besides, if we go out and rampage impudently, we may do exactly as the enemy wishes. Michael opened his mouth. It's just as Azazel said. Our first course of action would be to check up on Gasper Vladdy. Without our knowing, someone has freed Gasper, and it would be prudent to retrieve the Damphir. I have to ask Azazel, for what purpose were you gathering sacred gear users if not to launch a preemptive strike?
It was to prepare. Prepare? That is unsettling, you must know, even though you reject war, Michael said in amazement. Like I said, I won't wage war against you people. Rather it is for the Chaos Brigade, an organization whose means is to incite destruction and mayhem.
Chaos Brigade. Gabriel played with the word. She had never heard of such an organization before. Azazel's next words changed the mood entirely. I've learned about it recently. They are gathering dangerous members from all three factions. A few humans who have achieved Balance Breaker and Longinus Possessors have been confirmed. Furthermore, the leader of this organization is the powerful fiendish dragon besides that Welsh dragon and Vanishing dragon. I see. Sears X wore a grim expression, so that person has moved, that Ouroboros dragon Ophis, a dragon feared by God.
As a magic circle appeared inside the room, yes, Ophis is the leader of the Chaos Brigade. Sears X clicked his tongue. Graphia protect Rias and the others.
It was safe to say that Naruto's plan to avoid troublesome things failed miserably. When the Occult Research Club left for the meeting, Naruto volunteered to stay behind with the Hikikomori Damphir. To Naruto it was a good opportunity to avoid the meeting.
Naruto yawned into his hand. You guys go on ahead, and I'll stay back to keep Gasper company. Besides my being there isn't necessary as I wasn't a major contributor to the Holy Sword incident. I was randomly caught in the crossfire. Not of my own disposition, he thought wryly. Naruto's reasoning was solid. Okay then, everyone else we must be going. Rias contemplated the notion momentarily before saying.
The door was closed with an audible thud. An awkward silence hung in the air between a fidgeting Gasper and a visibly bored-looking Naruto. Naruto opened up his inventory page, without a word, and pulled out two handheld game consoles that he had snatched from Azazel's collection. He had gotten permission from the governor beforehand, of course. Once Naruto checked that the devices were preloaded with the game, he called to Gasper. Gasper, catch. The boy had a half-second of preparation before Naruto tossed the PSP Vita. Gasper desperately tried to catch it. He fumbled with the device before he properly secured it in his hands. The androgynous boy released a sigh of relief before turning his face to pout at Naruto. Naruto-senpai, give me more time before you do that. Naruto chuckled lowly as he flicked the power switch on the side, which prompted his underclassmen to do the same. The machine silently began its startup. The screen lit up, and soon enough they were playing the game. Gasper, I'll tank the creature and distract it. Then, you flank it from the side, Naruto suggested. His character, a nimble warrior adorning bulky armor equipped with a decorative kite shield and spear, charged their most recent quarry headfirst.
Their opponent, a brown-scaled earth dragon, reared on its haunches and opened its maw. A gathering of light particles was the signal for its deadly elemental breath. Naruto had his character activate a skill in response, which fortified his defensive parameters by raising his resistance. The earth dragon slammed its mighty forearms on the ground, spewing a torrent of earth from its gullet. Naruto stopped running, dug his heels into the ground and braved the storm. Stones of various shapes and sizes pelted Naruto, denting his health bar. Yet, he stood resolute. From his spot, Naruto tensed his muscles. He jumped high into the air, landing on top of the beast. Naruto taunted it so it engaged him in combat. This let Gasper's character, a female elf, sneak around and wail on the dragon from behind. With one final roar, the dragon dropped to the ground. Lifeless. Dead, its body dispersed into particles. Since they were in a party, Gasper and Naruto received a par sum of experience and gold. Placing down his Vita on the ground, Naruto leaned back against the wall. Then Murphy's Law struck. The room was lit up by multiple magical circles. Magicians robed in black cloaks, obscuring their faces, popped out. Naruto found himself their target of their outstretched hands, brimming with magical buildup. Restrain the gray-haired devil. We can use him as a bargaining tool,
The leader, Naruto presumed, commanded, and prepare the transfer.
It was at 2 against 6. The mages had the numerical advantage.
He held up his hands and allowed his captors to bind them behind his back. They tied a piece of cloth to his mouth. The usual procedure. 4 hooded magicians surrounded Gasper from the 4 cardinal directions, north, south, east and west. They began chanting under their breaths in an archaic language, one that was foreign to Naruto. From his spot Naruto watched as lines were drawn between the chanting mages and translucent orbs coalesced above their heads. An intricate magic circle marred the ground under Gasper's chair. The boy, in the middle, was having a mental breakdown. "You, half-blood, aren't you wondering why your sacred gear hasn't activated?" The leader said with an evil smirk, "Thanks to our leader's ability, we were able to nullify and control your sacred gear." The smirk widened. "Now we're going to power it up before turning it on the leaders. We're ready." Transfer. A steady stream of energy, transferring energy, was channeled into Gasper from the 4 casters, forcing a balance breaker state. Sweat perspirated down the leader's brow as she directed her focus on controlling forbidden blur view. Turning his eyes to his guard, Naruto saw that his gaze was solely fixated on the ritual and not on him.
So with this window of opportunity, he brought up his inventory and pulled out his knife. He began sawing through the rope. Naruto pulled his hands apart, letting the sprayed ends of the rope drop to the ground.
Silently, Naruto righted himself straight. Then, creeping up to the nearest intruder, Naruto silently anchored his hand around the mouth of the nearest victim. To muffle his voice, tilted his head back and stabbed upwards into the lower gap between the jaw and neck. The man yelled, but Naruto's hand muffled the noise. The man's arms flailed helplessly behind him, trying to grab Naruto. In mere moments, his arms dropped to his sides and his body slumped against Naruto. He was dead.
Naruto pulled out his knife. His hand and the blade were stained with blood. Naruto took an involuntary step back. He planted his face into his left hand. Staring through the gaps of his finger, he saw red. His breathing became deep and labored.
A gamer's mind passive LVL, max, allows the user to calmly and logically think things through. Resistance to psychological effects.
His breathing stilled. His nerves quieted. Naruto grimaced. Ping mastering the shadows, passive LVL. 1. The unseen blade is the deadliest. Abusing an enemy's weakness or attacking from a blind spot will deal an additional 75% plus 10% STR damage. Critical, passive, LVL. 2. All attacks can crit, dealing extra damage. Crit damage 200% plus 2.5% luck. Crit chance 1.15%. Power strike active LVL, 5. Increased damage 91%. Crit chance 15%. Thankfully the incessant incantation being vocalized by the 4 cornerstone mages entirely blotted out the struggle. Naruto lunged at the nearest and his latest target, a witch. She crumpled to the ground choking on her blood. A chain reaction was shot back into the remaining 4 witches, hitting them with a magical backlash. Naruto reaved the life of all the witches sans the leader, who had recovered in the nick of time, with brutal, efficient stabs to the throat and chest regions. Stay back. She faltered in fear. She held a blade up to the pale neck of Gasper. A line of blood was drawn by the honed edge. Naruto judged the approximate space between them. He raised both arms above his head. He dropped his knife. The leader's eyes followed the movement. It was simple misdirection. Naruto promotion to Knight had given him a speed boost. One swift dash devoured the distance. The leader reacted. Her blade descended in its deadly arc. Flesh was punctured and blood was splattered. Naruto wrapped his hand around the handle. She yanked furiously, but Naruto's hold held. Inescapable. The leader didn't have time to react before Naruto grabbed her shoulder, attached to the arm holding the weapon, and dislocated it. Her mouth unhinged, releasing an ear-shattering shriek as she was struck by excruciating pain. Not having any of that being the annoying noise, Naruto drove his fist into her stomach, knocking her out. Naruto hissed softly in pain as his hands worked to untie the rope tying down Gasper. Once free, the boy crashed into Naruto, effectively pushing down the gray-haired sloth. Waahhhh. Naruto-senpai, I was so scared. Gasper cried while gripping his shirt. I'm useless, I have no value. It would be better if I had died. Naruto frowned. This guy. He raised his right hand, his good hand, and chopped. Ouch. Why did you do that, Naruto-senpai? Gasper said as he rubbed the growing red welt on his head. With one eye closed and teary-eyed, it made Gasper look, dare Naruto say it, cute. Naruto felt like he had forgotten something horrible that he had repressed the thought of it. Gasper, began Naruto, do you remember what I told you? That's why Gasper I will. You said that you would acknowledge my existence. That's right, Naruto ran his fingers through Gasper's soft locks. He completely ignored the fact that Gasper was a guy. So enough of this self-deprecating talk about dying and being worthless, all right? Gasper, with his cheeks tear-stained, nodded. Naruto smiled. He gently removed Gasper from his person and stood up, patting down his pants. That has been taken care of, now let's regroup with everyone else. I'm sure they must be worried about you. Gasper raised his gaze and noticed it, your hand. Naruto quirked an eyebrow. My hand? He asked. He brought up his bloody hand which had a nasty wound in it. He shrugged, oh yeah, what about it? What could they do about it? There were no bandages in the room to dress the wound, but leaving it alone would be detrimental. Then, Naruto noticed how the environment felt off. It was because the effect of forbidden Balorview had yet to be dismissed.
This could work, Naruto thought to himself. Gasper, we need to break the time freeze of the sacred gear, but you don't have the power nor control to do so. Drink my blood, that should give you the push that you need.
Gasper's face blew a fuse, dyeing itself a deep scarlet. Smoke blew out of his ears. Doctor, drink your blood? Are you sure about that, Senpai? Naruto curtly shrugged and said nonchalantly, go ahead, I see no problem with it. Oh okay, but first you have to close your eyes, Gasper murmured. Complying with the boy's order, Naruto slid down his black sleep mask. Gasper gulped. He gingerly nestled Naruto's bloody palm between his small hands. He pursed his lips an inch closer. Mere inches away, Gasper was suddenly struck by the pungent, tantalizing smell of blood. His breathing quickened. Gasper's tongue darted out and took a small, tentative lick of the blood. His eyes widened almost instantaneously.
Her body felt hot as if stricken by an intense fever. She shuddered. She kissed his palm, using her tongue to lap up the delicious nectar. She drank it up like a parched, dying man stranded in the unforgiving heat of the desert. She internally groaned when her supply dried up. The only reminder of the wound was a faint, pink discoloration of his palm.
It wasn't enough. She ran her tongue over her pale lips to gather every last drop. More. She wanted more. She gently pushed Naruto down and climbed into his lap, which confused him greatly.
He hooked a finger under his sleep mask and pulled it up. He opened his mouth, ready to speak, until Gasper forestalled him. How so? She undid the top 3 buttons of the collar's shirt. She leaned in and began nibbling on his earlobe. She pulled away, planting her face into the crux of his neck. She inhaled, embedding his scent into her memory.
Naruto was paralyzed unusualness of this predicament. Naruto creaked open an eye. He had no words. He fought back a verbal groan of exasperation and of incredulity, but it took all of his willpower. At some point in time, Gasper had crossed the gender threshold. If the softer face, eyes and pale lips and longer hair weren't enough of an indication, Naruto was certain the soft, squishy feeling on his chest was more than enough. He idly noted how Gasper's assets may have grown. By growth, they filled up from a small A cup to a more prominent low B cup. Things got really weird for Naruto when Gasper ran her slender tongue over the skin of his collarbone. Naruto-senpai, she breathed in a voice, barely above a whisper.
And that was all the warning Naruto had before she sunk her sharp canines into his flesh. Gasper greedily gulped down the deluge of red honey flooding her mouth. She softly moaned into his shoulder. The blood had a palatable taste. It was rich and savory. It was delightfully irresistible. She didn't like drinking blood, but she wouldn't mind drinking Naruto-senpai's in the slightest. She stopped. Abruptly retracting her fangs, she earned a wincing hiss from Naruto. She blinked. Once. Twice. Her cheeks were flushed a deep scarlet. I'm sorry, I don't know what overcame me. The entire thing was surreal for Naruto. Then again, he did offer his blood in the first place. Deciding to break the awkwardness, Naruto placated her worries. He rubbed her head as a wisp of a smile played on his face. Don't worry about it, Gasper. What is more important is that you cancel the effects of forbidden Balorview. Ping. Quest completed. 7549 XP. Slot filled. Secondary reward is locked.
Congratulations. Your level has increased by 1. Opaquely sarcastic, great timing. Naruto's GI. The very moment Naruto stepped outside the room and into the hallway, his spider senses, otherwise his sixth sense, blared thunderously. Acting on impulse, Naruto pushed down Gasper's head and ducked. Good thing too as a black blur zoomed over them and landed at the end of the hall with a thud. Are you okay? Naruto asked Gasper. He got a swift nod in reply. They turned their attention to their attacker. Like the mages they had just dealt with, he wore a full body cloak. His right sleeve had been torn and his arm left bare. Strange black ink carvings spiraled down his forearm. A pair of sinister, red pupils glowed behind a face mask. When the man spoke, it was a mix between gurgling and growling. A stream of saliva dripped down his chin and onto the floor. Meat, 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 meat. The black inking began glowing bright red like hot coals. It ruptured out of his skin and curled around his arm once before solidifying. The purple tendril cast an eerie glow in the dimly lit hallway. It was a good 2 feet by Naruto's estimate and deadly too. The man began walking slowly, at first, towards them, dragging behind him his spike, screeching along the tiles. Breaking into a sudden lunge, the man aimed his spike at Naruto's head. Naruto tilted his head to the side, letting the appendage harmlessly pass by. But that wasn't all. Naruto turned on his heels and speared a spinning back kick into the assailant's chin.
Wekhook. Not giving his opponent leeway of any sort, Naruto quickly slammed a rook and power strike empowered sidekick into the cloaked man's ribcage. The man crashed into the wall at the end of the hall. Spiderweb cracks spread out from his impact. The body limply fell to the ground, but it wasn't over just yet. Naruto crashed into the man, ramming his shoulder into the man's stomach. The force of the impact was enough to break through the weakened wall.
Naruto-senpai. From the 3rd floor, Naruto and the unknown man free fell in the air until they landed on something softer than the hard earth. Azazel's body was in pain. Every ounce of his body ached and burned. One moment he was fighting Catalia, and the next was him being blindsided by Valley. So Valley, you were betraying me. That was as far as Azazel got before a heavy object landed right on top of him, knocking the wind out of his lungs.
Naruto groaned lightly as he rolled over, off of the cloaked man and Azazel. He stumbled to his feet while clearing his vision with rapid blinks. Naruto's back was wide open for the man to take a shot at, but he found himself at the end of a searing fireball. The blast threw him back several meters before he crashed into the ground again.
Naruto, are you all right? Revel asked as her feet touched the ground.
I'm fine, just a little shaken, was Naruto's reply.
I'm fine if anyone is wondering, Azazel, wheezing, claimed.
Who was that? Inquired the resident female pervert.
Naruto rubbed his aching shoulder. I don't know. He suddenly appeared out of nowhere when Gasper and I walked out of the room.
Gah, as I was saying earlier, no one was paying attention to him, so he threw his hands up in resignation. I give up.
Azazel, have you been here the entire time? Why didn't you speak up?
Azazel shot the lazy teen a petulant glare before clearing his throat. When was it that you decided to defect, Valley?
Valley answered nonchalantly, as I was en route back to headquarters after the Seiken incident. Sorry, but this side seems more interesting, turning his sharp gaze to Itsuko. I guess that I should formally introduce myself. I am Valley, the descendant the previous Mao Lucifer. Valley, I think that's enough talking for now, the woman, who was the previous Mao Leviathan, said. She was putting off a tremendous amount of killing intent. Azazel clicked his tongue. TCH, that density just now, what did you get from that bastard Ophis?
The lady smiled. I've borrowed a bit of the infinite dragon's power. Now I can fight you, and there's even a chance that I can take out one of the other leaders.
The governor snorted. Searzex, Michael and Gabriel, they're far superior than someone as mediocre as you. Very well, I'll just have to destroy you. The man grinned as he took out what looked like a dagger from his pocket and pointed it at Catalia. Balance breaker. Lacking hesitation, Azazel promptly launched a spear at Catalia, piercing her in the abdomen. She as a devil had been struck by a powerful poison, instantly vaporizing her body. She almost had taken his arm, but it was a close save. They all noticed it. An ominous foreboding descending upon them. Hooded figures, who bombarded both the 3 factions and Chaos Brigade, fell from small claw-like tears in the dimensional rift. Gar. Wait, what are you do? Help me. The shouts of demise scythed a path of crystal clarity through the air. What's going on now? Searzex shouted before finding himself being piled on by a horde, before blasting them with a burst of his signature magic, Rias and the others. A quick teleportation spell and everyone was reunited. Rias, are you alright? Are you hurt anywhere? Where's the bastard that harmed my dear sister? Searzex sputtered his words in a rush. Rias placated her brother's worries. I'm fine, Oni-san. Gabriel and Graphia reacted instantaneously. Holding their hands, palm outwards, they constructed a sturdy barrier. Not a moment later, a downpour of energy bolts rained from the sky. From the dust cloud, a solitary shadow approached sedately. I smell delicious meat, a voice bemoaned. It was the man from earlier. Why doesn't this guy just stay down? A person dived from the sky. The impact created a shockwave, clearing the obstructive cloud. Arg! The sound of the man's backbreaking reverberated in conjunction with his outcry. Another failure, a raw, throaty voice rasped. What should I do with you? I wonder what another ghoul tastes like. Lucky you.
With his foot planted on the man's spine, he held down the man's arms with his own. And he ate him. Literally, he unhinged his jaw to reveal a set of sharp teeth and took a bite out of his victim's flesh. His latest prey voiced protest, but it fell on deaf ears. He would tear at the flesh, taking large bites and working over the flesh sloppily, making loud squelching noises. His teeth would crack and break bone. Blood stained his black fiber-woven clothing.
The leaders watched in morbid fascination. For a pure soul like Asia, the gruesome scene was too much. The blonde nun tore her eyes away from the sight and vomited. Zenobia, along with the rest of the club, looked away and fared better, if only slightly. Naruto had no problem with it only because of his passive effect.
He stood up, wiping the remnants of his latest meal on the back of his sleeve. He bent his body forward as it began to convulse. In all its horrifying glory, a set of spikes erupted from his shoulder blades along with a set of insect-like curved, rhombus-shaped wings from his upper back. Ah, delicious. The hood fell off to reveal a relatively young-looking man with a light complexion. Short, sandy hair framed his scalp, shooting out in short spikes. His eyes, they were the most striking feature. Evil, red pupils juxtaposed with pitch-black sclera.
A circle of frost swirled around his feet, and in an instant the unnamed ghoul found himself frozen inside a giant block of ice. Don't you know that it's discourteous to eat with your mouth open? The stoic maid commented flatly whilst primly fixing her headband.
Behind the ghoul, another tear opened and out walked. I wonder who it could be. Gee, 2 more hooded figures, Naruto, with great enthusiasm, thought. Oi, bastard, get yourself out of there. I still need to carve up your body and offer it, so I'd like it if your body is still intact, the taller one of the duo said. He hefted a heavy, triple-bladed scythe, and tapped the ice with the back of his weapon.
The other half casually shattered the light spears shot at them by Azazel, who asked, "Who are you people?" While his compatriot was busy with whatever the man was doing, he turned to the 3 factions group and chuckled mirthfully. I feel hurt, Azazel, that you don't remember me. He grabbed the edge of his hood and threw it back.
Kokabeel. A rejuvenated and younger-looking Kokabeel cocked a condescending grin and spread his arms, gesturing to the worthless filth before him. While I can't honestly say that it's nice to see you, Azazel, I'm not planning to stay here for too long. I'm just here to pick something that belongs to me, benefactor, up.
Sears narrowed his eyes at Kokabeel. The fallen angel looked to be in his early 20s. His long black locks were neatly cut. The man could pass off as one of those pretty boy males from the shoujo manga Rias owned and read. Mal bless. Kokabeel eerily reminded Sears of Makoto from FR*E, with black hair instead. Kokabeel, I take it that your club is responsible for these. They're called ghouls, Kokabeel replied. I don't know the full process, but they were created by experimenting with a juinjutsu that one of our members has created, and a bit of the miasma floating about in the air. Believe it or not, these ghouls are the rejects who couldn't fully handle the effects of the cursed seal. They've completely gone off the deep end. He shrugged. It's still a work in progress. Kokabeel looked over his shoulder and jerked his thumb to the block of ice. Break our friend out of his imprisonment, will you? He called to his partner. We have work to do. Without a care in the world for the superpowers in front of him, Kokabeel reached into his robes and withdrew an opaque orb about half the size of a basketball. Time to begin the extraction. Oh, and feel free to try to stop me. From a side, Kokabeel's frustration peaked. He raised the triple-bladed scythe high above him, ready to just smash the damn thing and get it over with. Not a moment later, cracks cut through the ice before the ghoul freed himself, shooting the broken ice outwards. I sense worthy prey. Then, without warning, the ghoul disappeared with a blink, only to reappear in front of Valley and sent the Hikuryuko flying with a doubled hammer fist to the temple. He followed the body in pursuit. Well then, Kokabeel, take your pick of the bunch and I'll handle the rest. Absent-mindedly bouncing the orb. All right, I'll take on Sears, Michael and Azazel. That leaves me with Gabriel, Seraphol, Graphia and a bunch of devils, he said as he rested his obtuse weapon on his right shoulder. He grinned darkly. More sacrifices. He noticed Naruto. He raised his finger and pointed it straight at the youth. I don't know, but there's something about you that pisses me off. Wonderful. Kokabeel turned to his partner and made a shooing motion with his hand. Good, now go somewhere else, you'll only be in the way. Naurns Gi, Rias-sama, Revel-sama, I highly advise that you stay out of this battle. Clearly this man is no pushover. Just let Gabriel-sama, Seraphol-sama and I handle him, the strongest queen said to them. The 3 of them would be more than enough for this rapscallion, if Seraphol would stop glaring at Gabriel. They heard the thunderous sound of an explosion before they felt the ground tremble beneath them. Where the leaders were fighting Gabriel hung a great cloud of ash. Oi, shouldn't you be more worried? The man looked like a hedgehog with the amount of ice and light spears sticking out of his body, courtesy of the women. That was surprisingly easy, Ravel blinked. Ravel's response received nods from her fellow classmates. Although for good measure, Grafia wanted to behead the body, better safe than sorry. They all froze when they heard a chuckle escape from the seemingly dead body. Haha, it hurts. It fucking hurts. I have spears in places where they have no place being. Damn it, so much fucking pain. He straightened himself to full height and gave them the middle finger. How was the man alive? He had spears stabbed into every vital organ, 10 times over, and a spear or two lodged into his skull. He began pulling out the spears in clusters, and his hood got caught, tearing it off. Running his hand through his slicked back silver hair, he spat blood onto the ground. The side user scuffed his shoe on the ground, drawing a strange symbol with his blood. His grin was bloody. His next action was unexpected. He face-palmed. How could I forget? You heathens should know the name of your killer. My name is Jashin. Heretical god. Mad god Jashin. Grinning like a madman, Jashin raised up and tucked one leg into his other leg. He held his side high, tensed his body and threw it like a baseball, if baseballs had 3 blades jutting out of the center. The weapon carved a deadly path through the air. Everyone leapt back to avoid the windmill of spiraling death. Naruto saw the knowing smirk plastered on Jashin's visage. Except for Naruto, no one had seen the thin stream of energy extending from his sleeve, a cable of sorts. Yanking on the invisible cable, Jashin changed the trajectory of his attack so it swirled around and whirled dangerously towards Kalawarner. He sighed, time to do something stupid again. He had to wonder if he had a previous reincarnation which had self-sacrificial tendencies. Changing mid-flight, he rocketed towards Kalawarner and pushed the fallen angel out of harm's way. Although in exchange, the blade cleanly cut through his left arm, and completely slashing through the tensile ligament. Nay-san. Rainier touched the ground beside her older sister, as everyone else rushed to Naruto's side. Naruto. Don't bother Asia-san, Naruto said to the visibly concerned nun, who was ready to heal him, while he was fruitlessly stemming the blood flow with his right hand. Before anyone could refute him, he laid out his reasoning. I'm not denying the prowess behind your sacred gear Asia, but it would take too long to reattach my arm. Rather, if Grafia or Serafal could freeze it, you can fuse it back later. Then turning to Ravel, for now as emergency first aid, can you cauterize it? Despite what anyone says, it wasn't fun to bleed profusely over oneself. Why would you do that? Kalawarner asked the question that was on everyone's mind after Naruto's wound was taken care of. Why risk yourself for me? When the plan to extract Asia Argento's sacred gear backfired, Rainier and her were at the mercy of Rias Peerage. The only options they had were death or servitude. Kalawarner offered herself up, to take the place of her younger sister, but her plea went unanswered. Since Rainier was the mastermind, she was to take up the opening slot of Bishop, and Kalawarner, not wanting to leave her sister alone in the world, became an eternal prisoner. At least, Rias was able to win the rating game against Riser as Rainier wasn't reluctant to abuse the corrosive and toxic nature of her holy magic against the Phoenix. Why? Why not? He answered back plainly, do I need to have some sort of underlying, grandiose reason to help you? After all, you are a precious comrade. That's reason enough for me. He stuck his thumb up and grinned lazily in a rather half-assed, nice guy pose. Jashin began to slow clap, a magnificent display of camaraderie. It brought tears to my eyes. He wiped an imaginary tear from the corner of his eye away. Now for the fun part, he exclaimed, and licked the blood off the blades. A repulsive, bright aura erupted around Jashin, surrounding his person before exploding outwards and pushing the air around him out in a shockwave. Before their eyes, Jashin's skin bled black with white marks appearing all over him. The circle he had etched into the ground began moving, slithering as if it were a snake, up his body. It became part of his markings. Then grinning, he stabbed his side into the ground, reached into his cloak and retrieved a retractable spear. Don't blink, this trick is a real killer. Jujutsu. Shiji Hyukatsu curse technique. Death controlling possessed blood. Not eager to see what he will do, Xenovia and Kiba kicked the ground and charged with their swords primed. Kiba, who was the faster of the two, appeared above Jashin with his sword held over his shoulder. When the blonde prince slashed down, he had expected his opponent to dodge or at the very least block, but the freak stood there smiling as Kiba sliced off his left arm. Following after Kiba, Xenovia leapt in spinning her massive weapon, Durandal. Once again, Jashin stayed still as Xenovia carved a long crevice in his chest. Has he gone mad, taking those blows? Gasper, Still in female form, whisper aside to Kaneko, prompting a short nod from the quiet girl.
Naruto's eyes shot wide as bolts of pain shot through his body. He began falling forward, but stopped himself short of hitting the ground through a stomp and sheer willpower.
What the hell? Naruto said, coughing up blood. He removed his right hand, shakily, from his blood-sodden shirt and had to wonder how he got injured. His left arm was already cut off, so he didn't receive the neural feedback.
It hurts, doesn't it? Jashin chuckled gleefully. Before anyone could stop him, he stabbed his spear through his right leg and ground it through the bundle of nerves, eliciting a sharp shout from Naruto. What delightful agony! I'm sorry, but I have to cut our fun short. He aimed the spear over his heart. He plunged it into his chest. Right into his heart, Naruto's heart. Naruto fell forward. His body hit the ground with a thud. The end. Thanks for watching. Also remember to subscribe and like this video. See you in the next video.